Welcome everyone to the Apex Legends African Throwdown Cup 2, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. I will be your host for this evening. My name is Proxy, but I'm not alone. I have your two wonderful casters joining me tonight, Tender Plays and Fire, going to be bringing you all the action for this evening. But speaking of this evening, let's take a look at the schedule and see what's in store tonight. So as you know it, we have Group D going head-to-head tonight with 4 maps and 4 opportunities to get themselves enough points to get into those top 10 slots and move on to the next phase. So tonight, it's one night only of qualifications for Group D, if Apex doesn't drop any updates. So hopefully we will be seeing all those games happening today. But why are they here? Why are we here? Of course, it is to take a look at that prize pool to see what these teams are competing for to get themselves a share of it. And it is a $1,000 prize pool, with 4th place taking 100, 3rd place taking 200, 2nd place taking $300, and your champions of the African Throwdown Cup 2 taking home $400. So it's a nice little bit of pocket change in the back pockets to just pat themselves on the back and take all the bragging rights home and be done with it. Let's remind you guys about what happened yesterday. We had one matchup of Group C actually happen, with the rest happening this Thursday. So the points are going to look a little bit lackluster, but that is because there was only one map. The rest of the maps will be played on Thursday. But Tendo, would you mind taking us through it?
Yeah, unfortunately, yesterday we were cut short and we really weren't able to witness the full potential of what Nibble and WRG were going to put up in the lobby. But we got a bit of a taste, and it was really good though. So you can see right there up at the top is Nibble and WRG holding that 1st and 2nd position. Laggy Boys coming in as one of the console teams, would put up some good numbers, some good fights from their side in that one game that we were able to witness. But unfortunately, they just ran into a little bit of traffic there in the fragment side. Simply Secluded as well put up some good numbers. They were actually our 3rd place team in that lobby, if I'm not mistaken. But the kills were a little bit shaky on their side. But hopefully when we come back for the broadcast on Thursday, we'll see a little bit more from them. And then after that, S4DB coming in at 5th, Sithic at 6th, 7th is Noob Goats, Alpha Carnivore at 8th, 9th, we got the Full Senders, and then we've got at 10th place, definitely not Sweats.
So as it stands currently, they are holding ownership of those 10 slots, but they still have 3 more maps to play, which will happen on Thursday, same time as tonight's broadcast. So please make sure that you join us and come experience all the action. But of course, tonight, it's Group D. It's not Group C that we're worrying about, it's Group D. Let's take a look at the point structure to see how they could be getting themselves enough points to get into those top 10 slots. And of course, it is by placement and kills. Placement points, depending on where you place, get you a certain amount of points, first taking 12, and then it teeters all the way down with 16 to 20th taking absolutely nothing. Nada. Zilch. With every single kill as well, landing the team 1 point each. So kills and placements, it's pretty easy, it's pretty simple. It's the format that we all know and love, and at this point in time, we know that we've got a lot of teams that are capable of doing both, that are capable of achieving both. But speaking of some of those teams, Fire, we've seen some interesting ones. We've seen some interesting strats, and of course, we've had some beautiful, beautiful moments in the throwdown thus far. Are there any teams in particular that's you're waiting for, maybe some strats or things that you're in particular just hoping that you're going to be seeing tonight?
Yeah, definitely. We saw different contrast styles from Group A to B and even C yesterday, especially in Group B, where we saw the guys like Caras Noir and ATK just come in and bully the lobby. But for me, the most interesting thing is those other teams that were, able to grab those points regardless of not having the same amount of firepower. So that's what I'm always looking for. Those underdogs, those guys who still find a way to rotate into a right spot and get that win at the end of the day. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
That's what we're waiting for. And Tendo, I mean, we were talking about it off screen just a little bit. This group is an interesting one. There's a few teams in there that we really, really want to shout out. I mean, one of the teams even having one of our beautiful, beautiful Wikipedia managers, Mr. Kanopedia himself, that's bringing in the action on stream this time, not off stream, actually going to be on our screens fighting it out. And of course, the Kara carries. I mean, the revisit of the streamer team from previous season. So what teams are you looking out for?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's pretty exciting. I think today's group. I think what we saw in Group A was probably the most competitive group, and we saw a lot of action, transposed around every single team pretty much. I think everybody was putting up some numbers against each other. Group B, we obviously had the domination of the Carthaginians, and I mean they went through a rampage even though 80k was in that lobby. And it seemed as if things were a little bit lost in Group C in a sense where we kind of read it. We kind of understood that, like, it's going to be a nibble WRG game. We saw that one game, and that's pretty much what happened. And just based on how the teams are playing, all the rotations that are coming through, and how they're distributing themselves around the map, we really can kind of, even if we didn't watch how yesterday went completely, I feel like we kind of told the story in a sense correct that it was going to be nibble and WRG. Today, I feel like it's all over the show. I mean, we've got the streamer teams obviously involved over here. We got Visimus as well coming in, showing what numbers they can put into the lobby. And then maybe my bet to maybe take this lobby right now, but we can't count any of these teams out. So I think right now it's pretty interesting. I saw a Madagascan team as well, which I'm pretty excited to see what they'll be able to put up inside the lobby. So, I mean, hey, man, African Throwdown hosted by NODWIN Gaming, giving us the diversity, giving us what we want. And today is one of those days where we get to see a little bit of that piece of the cake.
And I mean, we keep talking about it. The representation in this season has been absolutely phenomenal. We've got so many countries participating, from South Africa, Mauritius, Senegal, Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt, Namibia, Madagascar, Tunisia, all over the show, even outside of Africa. So many countries taking part, so many players and teams that have made themselves available for this season, which is sick to see. But yeah, I can't quite call a team there at the top. It depends on which teams are and which players are playing in the teams, because there's also a few substitutes in there, and depending on whether or not the substitutes are jumping in, Visimus for one has a very interesting substitute that I'm waiting to see if they're going to show up tonight. But we'll wait and see what happens in the lobby. And a few other teams that we've seen in previous seasons. Kraken, one of the teams that we saw previously. I mean, there's some fun teams this time. But yesterday we had a bit of an awkward time where a lot of teams were finding themselves outside of the zone, taking an enormity of damage before trying to rotate in, and then just running straight into other teams. So what are some of the tips and advice that you would give the teams today, Tendo, that they need to focus on, that they need to be wary of, that you've seen other teams make those mistakes before?
Yeah, and I mean, as we enter the beginning of today's group games, I mean, look, it's definitely zone reading, it's definitely understanding rotations and how the map plays out in World's Edge, and really just coming into the mind of your enemy as well, right? Maybe there's a couple of people in the lobby that you're with that you pretty much understand their play style, and you have to find counters to that, a little bit of anti-stratting. I mean, who doesn't love a little bit of anti-stratting at the end of the day, right? That's how you catch people off guard. That's how you really get into the mind of your opponents and really know how you got to play. So that a lot of people are probably going to be taking up fights as why be one of those teams? Maybe play for the rotation, get into the middle of the zone, like we saw WRG and Nibble do yesterday.
Well, we'll wait and see as the first game is about to go underway. This is the Group D games. Only 4 chances for these teams to get themselves enough points to get into those top 10 slots. So I'm going to hand it over to your wonderful casters, Tendo Plays and Fire, to take you through all the action on World's Edge. Guys, take it away.
All right. Act Fire. It is time for Group D of the African Throwdown, hosted by NODWIN Gaming, ladies and gentlemen. And the last time the two of us casted together, we witnessed the Carthaginians go on an absolute rampage. I don't think today's group is really going to go on like that unless we have a sneaky surprise, ladies and gentlemen. JSN, actually a team in the lobby, kind of making a reappearance in the African Throwdown, and they've got a bit of a rehash team. If you remember, in our last grand finals in the first African Throwdown, we had the team Lag that came all the way from Egypt. They're back here in a different way and form. Salvatore's on the team, if I'm not mistaken. I saw the likes of Nai as well, who we saw, and Act Fire. I mean, they were putting up some good numbers. They were really showing people what they got. They had some good mechanics back in the day. So I wonder what we're going to see from them tonight.
Yeah, definitely. If they do bring on that aggression, the same type of aggression that we saw from Carthaginians in Group B, then definitely is going to make the entire game interesting. What happened in that Group B game, especially, was, the most interesting thing for me was how teams like Drip Apex were able to still find a way to get that win, find a way to gather the points and qualify, regardless of the amount of firepower around them. And like I said before the game started, those are the kind of teams that I'm looking forward to. And the first game we're just gonna see how it is. That you're pretty much just gonna get used to the lobby, and yeah, we'll find out how it's the different teams play. So I'm curious to see how it goes down. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, you can always describe the first game of any Apex Legends tournament as a bit of a boxing match, taking a couple of jabs at each other. We like to say this year, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of that happening as we get an overview of where the teams are going to be dropping. A couple of teams coming here in this new drop spot. Actually, just the one team, Climatizer, added onto the map. And Agfire, I'm not too sure how much Apex you played before they redid the map in this new season of Apex Legends, which is officially the 10th season. The last time they touched World's Edge was season 6. And I mean, season 6 World's Edge just played differently. I mean, a lot of Apex players, I think, can go back and look at that time and really love and have a lot of nostalgia on that map. But, the Apex devs at Respawn thought that, hey, World's Edge needs a little bit of a revamp, adding Lava Fisher, adding Climatizer. How do you feel about those POIs? How do you feel they have really impacted the game thus far?
I mean, like I did mention before we started the game. This is a game that I just played casually, but recently just started getting used to, and it's pretty interesting for me. So I'm not too deep on the maps and everything yet, but I'm just getting used to the mechanics, to the players, and just enjoying the game casually. But yeah, hopefully you give me a rundown on the several teams and the history. It's my first season, so everything's pretty new to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's Apex hits you with it, right? There's so much to absorb, which I
Man.
really love about it. There's a lot of texture
Yeah.
in Apex Legends. I think the legends
Exactly.
themselves have a lot of background and history with them that, really make the game fun to play. And speaking of fun to play, this zone's looking the opposite. As it's pulling towards the south, and we've got a lot of teams towards that north side. We don't have too many teams in the center of the map. And as we tune into Swamp Creatures, ladies and gentlemen, for those that don't really know who Kano is the man behind a lot of why our Apex Legends Wikipedia is running, and he does a lot of the admin, a lot of work. So it's really exciting to see the likes of him in the lobby, along with Caramel's Carries, if I'm not mistaken, is the name of the team. Caramel Gamer. We've got It's Me, Jared, and Pac-Man, all three really big streamers making their way and name in South Africa right now and on the African continent, even some outside the African continent, obviously.
Yeah, that's definitely very good to see. You can see that zone already shifting towards that southwest region, and it's looking like the tree is probably going to be like the next spot where that rotation is going to take place. Different teams are pretty much spaced out. Yeah, it's different several teams around trials, and it looks like we may need to see a shift before we start seeing action going down between several different teams.
And speaking of action, there's some action happening here at Lava Fisher. It does look like the team of Visimus is getting engaged, and is that the man, the myth, the legend himself, Scared? Looking like he's making a return on the scenes, if I am reading that right. And now someone's been finished here. It does look like there's a bit of a three-way fight happening here between the teams, and there's players in and around everywhere. Actually, Visimus has Scare on that side, if I'm not mistaken. I think when Ez was mentioning that sneaky sub in, it's definitely Visimus putting in Scare. And there it is. Look at this roster right here, ladies and gentlemen. And I mean, look, I think this team right here, right now, running it with Scare. For those that don't know who Scare is, previous WRG player. We saw WRG yesterday, obviously, in the Group C games, and Scare was on the team. They made a really big name for themselves playing in the GLL, making their way in the Lost Chance qualifiers during the LGS championship circuit. And I mean, look, they're here to make a name right here, make something happen. Actually, wait, I'm so confused. It's actually TheForgotten, which is the name.
Yeah, it's actually TheForgotten. Yeah, it's actually TheForgotten with Scare.
I thought Neo was on Visimus, unless the team has not changed the name.
Yeah, it's pretty much changed right there. You can see him getting one kill right there. I do love how they were able to get that team. Octane is one of those characters that is pretty fast. I love the way Ari able to rush into that particular fight right there. You can see Faim from AverageBunch. They're trying to get the kills and popping some shots onto the next team, and ooh, it does get taken out.
Ooh, good cleanup coming in for the team here. Not too sure what we'll run by, but for this game, we'll call them the Forgotten until we get further confirmation. And they're cleaning up quite well, and I feel like they're going to be a really big threat coming in throughout this game. But as things settle down in and around the map, and as soon as I say that, two teams drop and we're down to 15-44 in the lobby. And there's a lot of action that has transposed in these beginning stages. Yeah, act fire, but I think a lot of teams are trying to make their rotations kick in right now. But Zone is pulling in. I think the Trials team, the Skyhook team, really need to start making their way in, especially at the team at Overlook. But I think they're getting gate-kept at one team there. There's a little bit of action happening here as we tune in here. With King Bees with the charge rifle, trying to take some shots here, doing a lot of damage. Gets our armor crack, but doesn't quite find the knock. The team of DOFI is going to push on top of this. The Honor 9 sprays come through, but not really connecting for too much damage. This team is running away. They're trying to get out of dodge, but it doesn't look like the team of DOFI is going to let go. And look at this. Look behind you, man. They're coming in like rain. The dome ain't going to save you in this situation, and it does look like the team is going to get cleaned up. And it should be easy for DOFI to pick up these points in their rotation.
Whenever a particular player with an Octane character is chasing you, man, where are you running to? he's way too fast. He's gonna get you. He's gonna definitely get you.
Yeah, definitely gonna get you. And at the train station there between Thermal, seems like there's a lot of congestion happening. There's a lot of fights as the zone is pulling in. Still so many teams making their way into the zone, and what's gonna end up happening here is, with all these teams coming through this chokehold, we're going to see so many fights break loose, and there's still fights happening in the zone back all the way at the north side as DOFI's trying to make their way into the zone, but they're getting gate kept and they're going down, unfortunately. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't seem like their run is going to last for too much longer in this first game. Some reses are trying to be popped through, and it does look like the team of iEnvy, I believe it is, coming in with Carnivore Sethi. They're putting up some good numbers in the lobby, getting some points in here. They're going to be stuck in zone for a long time here, though, Agfire, but it's a good thing that the team was able to get a couple of points, especially if they're going to have a hard time getting into zone and getting those placement points.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams just sitting right there outside that zone. They need to make their way in right now. You can see Imperial right now. They're just trying to get that heal off right there. They all need to get into that zone as quickly as possible. And yeah, we'll see how it begins to play out. But right now, you can see Twitch just putting in those shots right there. He's going in for that kill. Let's see how he does. He's looking for that chase. Then, Tendo. One thing I did want to mention was, you know, the strats right now that we've seen. I mean, I know it's just the first game. I know it's just one of those things where, you know, several teams are just trying to feel themselves. Why do you think they're all holding? You know, it just seemed like you know, just sitting outside the zones right now. You know, you're not trying to go into that central position.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of teams' picks will definitely be leaning towards Gibraltar, and with the Gibby, you know, you can hug the edge of the zone, you can take up a lot of fights because you have a lot of utility to work with to make your way into that zone. So it's also really good for obviously picking up some kill points along the way, because, you know, there's going to be a lot of teams making late rotations based on just how the flow of the lobby is as we tune into Loowe, who are pinned over here. They're trying to make their way into the zone. They do have some time though to work with. They're looking to take this fight up for the most part. Rampage in the hand of Loowe C. I believe it's probably the IGL of the team, probably trying to lead his team into this fight as correctly as possible. But for now, it's a bit of a standstill. But they're actually going to pop the Rev Totem. But inside is 999, and they've got the caustic set up. It's going to be difficult for the team to get inside here, but they're looking to kick down the door, and they're going to make a little bit of noise to enter in here. It's the FBI, and 999 is not ready for this heat. Luckily, they send them back for now. They can't get the res on EZs, but EZs didn't need to go down in that situation. But all of a sudden, the turn of it all is decided, and Loowe cleans it up nice and easy. Yeah, man, bit of a tough situation for them over there. As soon as the knock comes through onto EZ, it's just too easy for Loowe to come and clean it all up.
Ooh, now we absolutely cleaning that one up right there quickly. Just going into that position and getting a couple of kills that they do need to get right there. You can see several different teams trying to rotate into that zone right there. And yeah, some teams at launch sides. You got some teams not too far away from Terminal Station. They all need to get into that position where the tree is. And just like we predicted, the zone's pretty much shifting towards that tree center. You can see JSN now taking up some shots right here. Nice streams. He's just popping up some shots, pushing onto the team, trying to get that heal up right there. Really tough one for him right there, but he's able to get that heal quite on time. Right.
And Jason, they're doing well for themselves here, guys. This team is going to be a really big threat, I feel, for the lobby. I did see the team of Caras get a couple of points on the board.
About their history. I mean, how did they do, you know, in the last throwdown?
Yeah, well, in the last throwdown, obviously they were playing with as a lag with a couple of other players on the lobby. So they've changed some of the teams, so it's going to be interesting to see exactly what this new roster is going to be able to put up. I haven't really seen Dash play before. Nai was playing in the last throwdown. Nai, when we did see him, had some really good mechanics, had some really good gun skill on his side, and his game knowledge was also on point. So the team has the experience. They've been playing in, I think, a couple of competitive tournaments as well, you know, the likes of the GLL tournaments, the LGS circuit, etc., etc. So it will be interesting to see what they can do. And speaking of what will be interesting, it's interesting to see how much the Rampage has been picked thus far in this lobby. And people are really opting for it as Kraken Apex are trying to make their way in here to try push this team that is busy camping in the building here at Tree. But for now, everything is steady. It's actually two console teams going up against each other. And, you know, Actfire with the addition of the crossplay is going to be really interesting to see. Actually, they do have one PC player on them. So this is a hybrid team. So that's lovely to see.
All right. We can see the shots just popping up between the two different teams. Nerdish just sending out the shots right there. Junkie is making that move. Let's call it tactically waiting, but it doesn't look like he's waiting anymore. Going in with that Octane character, getting the push right there. Going in straight for that kill and getting the action going in. Maya and his team getting that absolute blast and taking out the team right there.
Yeah, really good push from Nerdish there. They played it well. They used their utility well to try and close the distance in that fight, and there wasn't really much of an answer from Kraken Apex. And looking at the kill feed as well, it did look like the team of JSN went down to the hands of the Caras. So Caras are putting up a lot of numbers in this game thus far, and they're proving why they can be a really big threat. Obviously, on that team, we've got the Caramel Gamer, Pac-Man, and It's Me, Jared. So it'll be exciting to see exactly where they'll finish off in here. And it's first in battle in the waging war, and he goes down to Carnivore. Chronic with the longbow, over peaking that angle, putting his team at a really big disadvantage now. As Cronius is gonna have to try get this res. Luckily, playing Bangalore gonna have that smoke. They do have the ulti as an option as well, the Rolling Thunder, to try and diverge this team a little bit longer. And it's Loowe, who we saw tearing up a team earlier, making their way into the zone. Zone's about to be closing as well, so a lot of teams that haven't made their way in, found a spot, are going to be put under a lot of pressure. So for now, just trying to exchange some damage, just trying to figure things out, trying to scout out.
Yeah, definitely, just like you said, they all just trying to figure, you know, how they're going to get into that zone, how they're going to get in that spot, how they're going to take on the several different fights. And you can see Neff just putting in those shots right there and sending it out to the Cronus and his teammates. Just in battle, doing in a whole lot of work right now. And it's just Kronos and his Chronic Anomaly. Okay.
The two are in a really tough spot. I saw Jared picking up another kill in the kill feed. So right now it does look like the team of character is running through the lobby pretty dominantly. Jared gets another kill in the kill feed, and the rest of these teams are just hugging onto this high ground and just waiting for an opportunity to try to get in the zone. The portal play is being made. The player there taking a lot of damage. I believe is knocked in that situation as they're just trying to ferry through to try get in an advantageous position. Climbing up here, the shots coming through from Cronius. Throws down the Rolling Thunder, feeling the pressure. Has to back this team off for now. And Loowe just holding things off for now as the shots are flying through once again. Zone's going to be pulling in as well, so there's a lot of pressure now onto Loowe, who have to try and make their way in here, playing from the low ground. Really big disadvantage for them, but somehow they're making it work. They're making their way in. The dynamic duo up at the top are really putting up a lot of firepower and holding off a lot of these teams. And everything settles as the zone settles. A couple of fights is dwindling down, but no, Loowe goes down on the opposite side. And First in Battle still holding up this position.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how the guys from First in Battle are just holding up their position. They just got about 2 players up right now, Kronos and his teammates, but they're still able to put in a lot of fire onto several different teams trying to rotate and make their way into the zone right there. And it'll be pretty interesting to see how they do finish it up. If they keep having a good position, they may just be able to finish this one out.
Yeah, the CR cage goes out as well, so that's going to give a lot of information to the team that's put this down. For those that don't know, CS has been added as the new legend, the new addition in the Apex Legends Outlands. Recon legend, and there's so many Recon legends in the game at this point, it's so hard to keep track, honestly. And it's funny because they never really seem to add the legends that are there to counter Gibraltar or to bring in like a new feeling that Gibraltar really brings into the lobby. I haven't really seen Respawn put that in as Chronic here. With the longbow trying to put up some shots, the team of Loowe is making a really big play to try to get up on top of them, but it's not really looking to transpose in a good way for them. There's so many people flying in and around the area. It's absolute carnage up here at the top, but somehow the two are staying alive. They're not taking any damage, but the damage comes in, and unfortunately they go down. But it looks like the team of eNvy is coming in to finish things off, and they've cleaned them up. The two teams have just died instantly, and a bit of a misplay to make that call. And eNvy comes in and cleans things up nice.
Oh, man, I was actually rooting for those two guys. You know, I'm always rooting for the underdogs coming in and just, you know, trying to make their play and getting, you know, as much points as they can. But they did put up a fight for as long as they could. And at the end of the day, eNvy just came in and cleaned everything up right there, just like we saw. So we're down to 6 teams. It's going to take this one. The guys from eNvy really still looking good right here.
They are looking good indeed. As the team of Forgotten is making their way into the building, they are playing caustic, so they will be able to bunker up and close things off quite well. The might comes in to break that door, so that's going to put a lot of pressure on them to make sure they keep covering that angle, or else that might cause into a little bit of a falter in their plan here. Zone's closing in, and it's getting really tight, and it's feeling really cramped for a lot of these teams at this moment, without a lot of playing room, without a lot of space to really work with. Forgotten have held things up quite well. Caras carries on the opposite end, actually in the zone, unlike the team of the Forgotten, who have to make their way in. Right now, they are bunkered. But yeah, 6 squads still, 16 up. No one's game just yet. It's still up to chance, and right now the lobby's been very balanced. I feel, you know, at Fire, it hasn't really been one team super dominating. I mean, we did see Caras put up a lot of kills up in the kill feed, but it doesn't really look like they've been dominating too much as everybody's gotten a room to play. Yeah, but the Forgotten is not giving anybody any space to play, and it's scary here, making a scene for everybody to witness. I see most people down with the R301, but for now everything's steady in the lobby.
Yeah, definitely, just like you said, the Forgotten are trying as much as possible to put in shots onto several different teams. I'm pretty impressed the way they played, but now you can see just popping up some shots right there, able to get a little bit of that damage. Will they be pushing up onto this one and trying as much as possible to get the kills for themselves? Like you said, the lobby is pretty much balanced, and the next zone ship is definitely going to determine a whole lot of things. You can see Imperium also trying to get them shots as well onto the guys from Caras, and they're putting on that return fire. Caramel Gamer is trying to throw in a protective right there and get them kills as much as possible. Let's see how it does. It's got in a knock, going in for that finish.
Yeah, it's absolute carnage right now in the battlefield here at Shri. As the dust settles just for a little bit. Some shots coming through from It's Me, Jared. And they're holding up a really good position here in the zone to really finish off this game. But on the opposite side, we still have to worry about the likes of the Forgotten, who are really going to be a big problem here. And Jared is laying down the fire here. He's controlling the team. He's putting them as an anchor. Envy. It's only Pops left. He has to try find a res here to really pull his team back into this one. But for now, as the zone pulls in, it's going to look really hard. The portal pops through to try get a position in here. And it's going to be Pac-Man beaming down onto Neo. And Neo goes down here on the side of the Forgotten. So now they're at a big disadvantage. But they can't really play off this carries. They have to hold this position for now because the end game is now, and they're in a really good spot to clean up this end game. Luckily, Neo is going to get back up on his feet. The res is going to pop through. 4 teams up right now as everything settles down just for a little bit as the next zone is about to close up.
Man, iEnvy Forgotten pretty much really looking good right here. The Karma Gamer and his team are holding up a good position right there on that mountain. And I'm really curious to see how this one's going to go because the lobby is really looking even at this particular point in time. So let's see what Caras does.
Everything's settled. So everybody has a spot in the zone for now, but a lot of teams in the building are going to be flushed out, and it's just scared looking up at the top, just wondering what kind of play has to pop through from the team. But it doesn't look like one drops down. It's going to pop the gas, so they won't be able to push up onto that. It doesn't look like carries are going to take the top of the building, which is a really good play for them. They're going to be able to control a lot of the real estate here in this final end game as it closes through. Final zone here, ladies and gentlemen. So now everybody's going to be really feeling the pressure as fights are going to break loose from everywhere. Caramel taking up a little bit of damage. iEnvy is at the bottom here of the building, pulling up and posting up some shots. As Jared is trying to put a little bit of pressure here. There's still one solo in here who can really be a bit of a threat here. I feel if they don't clean up this solo, it's just going to come and clean things up and really make a problem.
Yeah, just like you said right there, several different teams just trying to hold that position. Caras does look like they can go on and control that game right there, but iEnvy putting in some shots right there. As 6 plays is popping up shots, but the player is able to evade that one just for now. Let's see how he does. He begins to send some shots onto Caras. It does look like iEnvy and Caras are going to be taking this right now. Let's see what Jared and his team does. Set still popping up some shots onto several different teams right there. Shots and Caras is just directly on top of them, and let's see how they're able to do that. Let's see how they're able to evade. iEnvy is still trying to put in the shots, still trying to fight this one out, and it's looking really tough. They're both playing cautious. They're not going fully to make that push. They're just holding their positions right there. And what do you think about the way Caras is playing this right now? They're staying on top of that field, not making that push.
They're doing really well, but a lot of pressure is going to come through from the bottom. And Scare comes up here. He's trying to put a lot of damage in. And he does. He finds the knock on the Pac-Man. And Scare right now on a rampage. He's going to come up here. He's not afraid. He knows he can play up in this position. So much damage is putting up on Caras Vicious. And look at this right now. It's the Forgotten up on top. The team rising above the shadows here to clean it up. And Scare putting up so many numbers here to close it up. And the Forgotten, they clean things up from inside the building. The caustic comes in clutch. What are the scenes?
My goodness.
We have Apex champions.
I mean, I didn't expect to see that coming from Scare, but man, he finished that up clean.
Wow. Scare. And as I know you wanted that substitution to be true, and you can see exactly why.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
When I saw that on the roster, I was like, hold up a second. If this happens today, you gotta be telling me Neo, Ali, Scare in one team. Whoo! And the fact is, you can see why they can't be forgotten anymore. Coming back and just absolutely clapping, coming through there with the first win of the day. And really, I mean, that was a cheeky play. There's no other way that I could say it. That was all risk and a potential high reward, but a lot of risk to go with it. But he made it work. And absolutely kudos there to the Forgotten team. Interesting name, but we know them as Visimus. But Forgotten, Visimus, same, but different. Same. But yeah, that was pretty good. Tendo, what did you think about that first game?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that first game. I feel, we saw a really balanced out lobby. I feel, in this final group, I feel like everybody really does have the pop-up potential, but the Forgotten are definitely very, very scary to go up against, especially with Scare on the ranks. So, I mean, look, we'll have to see what it comes into game two, right? I feel like if a couple of teams played a couple of the positions a little bit better, we maybe would have seen a different outcome there. I feel like with the high ground, carries really had the opportunity to win that one up, but I feel like Caustic was a really big advantage for the team of the Forgotten there to really close that one up. So, I mean, you can't really take away from anything there. Really good game all around. I feel like it was really exciting, lots of action towards the end there. I mean, it just exploded. It was like a world war of its own.
And I mean, that was the perfect sort of, scenario for Caustic to come through there, because that final zone, that final play, it somehow it just all came into perfection. But let's take a look at your MVP for the first match of Group D games, and here it is. Tendo, Tendo, take us through it.
It's me, Jared, coming through as the MVP. And I mean, it makes sense, Looking at the kill feed, I saw Jared's name pop through a lot of times, so I can imagine anchoring the team quite well there and getting a lot of damage playing on, I believe it was maybe Lifeline, if I'm not mistaken. So 2,700 damage coming through from Jared is really, really good. And right now, carries are looking good to be in the semifinals here, as I mean, with a performance like this, I don't doubt that they're going to lose any steam.
No, I mean, they were doing fantastically, and I mean, that position that they had there, they were really, really playing well and competing at a level that we expect them to. So I'm so excited to see the rest of the games, but we're going to have to wait just a while longer while we go to a short break. Stay with us. There's still plenty of African Throwdown action just coming your way. We still got 3 maps, so it's going to be good. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Apex Legends African Throwdown Cup 2, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. Game 1 done and dusted for Group D, so we'll take a look at those standings shortly. We'll see who came out on top, who was pretty close, and who may need to pull up their socks for the next map. As we know it, only the top 10 go through to the next phase, so it's incredibly important that these teams pick up points as much as they can to just help solidify their spots. You know, the standings on your screen as it stands. Tendo, take us through it.
We've got... Actually, this is quite interesting to see here, right? As we've got 12 kills, both from Caras and TheForgotten, who we have confirmed is Visimus, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know, we'll go in and out of calling them Forgotten and Visimus. But just so everybody is aware that we do know, they come through with 24 points. Really good, really solid game coming in from them, and you can't take away from Caras coming in with 19 points as well. That's really good, solid. Envy, man, they were playing quite well, you know, and I mean, it makes sense. I think, you know, Carnivore, Sethi Plays, those guys, they've been playing a lot of Apex, they've been putting the hours in, so I think they're just comfortable in the lobby. JSN, they got a lot of kills, not quite good on the placements, but I think they ran into Caras, and you can see exactly what is happening with Caras. They were on a bit of a rampage. Some Caras following afterwards, Nerdish, Loowe, Impervial, SaffasUnited, and then DOFI to finish it off there at 10.
The top 10 currently, as it stands, taking those 10 slots, whereas the rest of the teams that are sitting in 11th to 20th place, they need to get up some points. They need to pull up their socks for the next game if they want to make sure that they get themselves a place in the next phase of the African Throwdown. So far, though, these games have been very interesting. And I mean, the Caras carries and, you know, Visimus Gaming going and getting 12 kills each. That speaks volumes to how active and how close that last little fight was, because those were literally your two kill leaders just going head to head. But ultimately, we know who won that one out. Though this time around, I'm not sure if it's going to be the same result. Fire, what do you think? Do you think we're going to see a similar result, or do you think there's another team that's planning to throw a wrench in the woodworks?
Yeah, definitely. I think there are other teams that are gonna come in and, you know, perform better than they did in this game. Another angle is we may just see the Caras go on and win that. I did feel like they had the, you know, the extra edge, but Forgotten had another plan towards that end. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Maybe JSN. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. We keep looking out. We keep looking out to see what these teams have in store for us. And of course, World's Edge once again. We know the map by now. I mean, I think we've seen a lot of Apex so far recently. Tendo, is there any sort of advice that you've seen some of the teams struggling with? Is rotations becoming an issue again?
You know, it's quite interesting, right? Because I feel like towards the early game, it felt like the rotations were a little bit difficult for a lot of the teams. We saw a lot of zone fights and a lot of teams trying to get each other. But towards the middle section, towards the end, there's a lot of teams that actually made it towards the zone and were pretty settled in. So rotation-wise, it seems like this lobby today are actually working on their rotations. You know, maybe there's just not as much pressure in the lobby. You know, when there's a dominant figure in the lobby, sometimes it actually pressures a lot of teams to maybe play things a lot slower. So maybe that might be one of the issues. But for now, everything seems really good in the lobby. I'm pretty impressed with just like how everybody's just like almost at the same pacing in a sense.
Yeah, they've been pretty active, which I like to see. I think all of the teams are looking for that opportunity. I mean, we saw Envy at that third party. They were so thirsty for it, and they literally, at the perfect timing, went and got a hell of a lot of loot to get themselves set up for that final zone. Towards the end, I think there was a few teams that did find themselves in some precarious situations. A lot of teams getting knocked early on, you know, in positions where they just can't get a res off, or just taking damage consistently from the rest of the teams rotating in. But that final zone was a little bit of an issue. I think we had one building and a mountain, and that was the cover that you could work with. So it happens, I guess. But this time around, I am very keen to see if we're going to see a similar performance from our teams. I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed with the Caras carries. I think this time around, that streamer team might be taking a W, but we'll see. Could be either, could be or, but let's give it over to our casters for Map 2 of the African Throwdown Cup 2, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. As they take you in, this is the second opportunity for Group D to get those points and get themselves into those slots. Guys, take it away.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Ez. Yep, second game coming through here as the teams get ready here in this Group D. fixture for tonight. And I mean, what did you like seeing from the last game there, Agfire? You know, I mean, we saw some really good rotations come in from a lot of the teams. We saw the carries, you know, really putting up some good fights in and out of their rotations. And I mean, you know, ultimately it was Visimus, the Forgotten, that ended up winning. But you know, they were in a spot that almost seemed as if they weren't really going to be able to capitalize and win off that.
Yeah, I mean, there were several different interesting things for me. One of the things was, first in battle with a two-man squad, just putting in the fights, trying as much as possible to, hold your position. And then Envy just came in and just went absolute blast, versus the two teams, the team first in battle was battling with at that time, and just took all of them out, got a couple of kills, and went on to come third place right there. So for me, that was a really smart move from iEnvy. Really great play to try and hold their position from first in battle. And we may just see them, this time around with a full squad perform a lot better than they did in the last game. So they're one team that I'll probably be watching out for. JSN is also one of those teams that I think may perform better in this next game. They now know what they're going to face when they come against the Caracari. So yeah, I do think there are a couple of teams that showed us some glimpse of brilliance in the last game and may come up with a better game in the second one.
Yeah, and quite
Introducing your
interesting to see
champion.
that there's a lot of caustic picks coming in from this lobby, and I wonder if it's because a lot of people know that how aggressive it can get in this stage of the African Throwdown. And I mean, we've seen it here at Fire, right? You know, teams are pretty aggressive. Teams are really willing to take up fights whenever there is an opportunity to fight.
Exactly. The teams and Irie holding back. They're being a little bit cautious, but and smart about the way they push, especially seeing the way the Forgotten pushed onto Caracas towards that end fight, pushing at the exact right time that they weren't going to take up shots from IMV. But yeah, they're not afraid to take the fights. They're not afraid to make that push and finally get that wipe onto any team.
And teams are going towards the drop spots right now. And you know, it's quite interesting. Harvester right now is looking empty, thermal station looking empty, and I wonder if a lot of teams are going to be stacked on top of each other towards that south side of the map, just based on how that dropship was looking. But as we win these and Swamp Creatures and Skyhook right now, waging in a little bit of a war, but it does look like we win these is going to be backing off for the moment as they settle things up here. First stages in the beginning of this looting phase for a lot of teams, right? So you don't want to be caught off in an awkward fight, right? You know what I mean? Act fire where it puts you at a
Yeah, exactly.
disadvantage and you come out in that 20th to 16th slot, coming out with 0 kills and 0 placement points. And it's just detrimental. You know, you never want to finish a game with 0 points. 1 point can really make the difference at the end of the day.
Definitely, definitely. But taking a look at that zone right now, you can see it's shifting towards like a southwest region. So totally different from the first map. We're heading towards that region around, landslide and countdown. And yeah, it's a different contrast from, the last game that we saw, which ended up, pretty much around the regions around T3. So yeah, it's a different kind of rotation for a lot of these teams who are now still sitting outside the zone.
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams, you know, on this east side of the map. I mean, if you cut the map down right down the center, you can see the zone is pulling a lot more westerly. So a lot of teams on the east are really going to collide with each other and really get congested. So for now, I don't think too many teams have really picked up on that, and they're probably going to play these rotations like they normally would without obviously having all that information. Train yard right now seems to be a little bit busy. This is average bunch just trying to make their way out here. I feel like they've picked up that there is a team and they don't really want to get themselves involved quite yet. And this is the team of Loowe. And what we've seen from them thus far here at Fire is that they really are able to put up a fight. They're actually the only team, I believe, running Revenant as well in the lobby. So they're really shaking up the meta with the Revenant coming in. And I mean, it makes sense, right? You know, there's a lot of caustics in the lobby, right, at Fire. So it's like, hey, you guys are going to bunker up we can kind of use our second life to kind of come inside your building, try deal as much damage as we can, and even when we come back still at a bit of a disadvantage, obviously with the gas, we still have an advantage in our own rights.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do and how they take advantage of, that extra life, just as you've mentioned in the several different fights that they're going to be taking right there. But you can see shots already going down between several different teams. You got about 3 teams sitting down around this region, and try to see how they're making that push right there. It does look like that player is trying to get out of that position, but he's getting chased by Loowe. Actually trying to get that kill right there and able to take him down.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate for this team. They're running out in the open without too much cover to work with here in the outskirts of survey camp. And Liao is just gonna have to pull out of the situation with minimal HP, running straight into another team, so it's gonna be really tough to survive. And there's so many teams towards this north side of the map right now, so there's going to be a lot of fights that break loose in and out. Somehow the Bloodhound player is making it out just barely, and is about to get down. Just barely alive. Going to be able to pop the battery and calm things down. So TN still in this one just for now. The Bloodhound can go off to camp, as everything is settled down for a little bit. No teams
really
have died
tough
yet,
one
though,
for
as
him
well.
right there. Yeah. Lil Louch and his team, from Team N, really came close to getting taken out of the game right there. But he was able to evade the last shots, and yeah, he's still halfway.
Right in front of you, Andrew.
Yeah, there's still a lot of teams in the mix here to watch, and as we win these, and they just seem to be running into traffic all the time whenever we tune into them. As now they're in front of SaffasUnited. But it does look like SaffasUnited is going to back off a little bit. They're feeling a little bit cramped up in the space, and they want to get a little bit more room to work with as they pull out of this situation. Thankfully, with that jump pad, they will be able to get a lot of distance for now. But no, it's Mac taking a lot of damage. The ulti is coming down as well, and the defensive bombardment's actually going to take them down in this situation. So SaffasUnited in a really tough situation, and they now have to try and res. Oh, but they're swinging around the corner here. There's not really much to work with here. And now Weza, only one up on the team, gonna go down as well. So the team's gonna get taken out. And as I say that, everybody's still alive in the lobby. Everybody seems to be just waging a bit of a battle here in the tunnel. And we win these. 1 player down. They are gonna look to stabilize. The 2 still remaining, but they're getting shot from almost every single direction in this situation, and it's really, really tough for them to really find a little bit of solace.
All right, so DOFI is right here. One of the teams that we saw go wild in the last game. They weren't able to, get that win into that final circle, but Benz and his team really got into the action right there in that previous game. So it'll be cool to see how they do against we win this, and see if they both go fully against each other. We win this, just have 2 players up. It's Cage or Kage. Not sure how to pronounce that one. Let's see how it does.
You know what
It's cool to see. It's cool to see.
With like the gamer tag names, I mean, like Twitch chat and video game names are probably just the hardest names to ever say, and it always gives us casters a run for our money on the desk when we have to pronounce them for the first time. But for now, the zone pulling in, and a lot of those teams that were on the east side are making their way in without really colliding with each other for the most part. No one's really in the final end game that's yet, but lots of teams in fragment, and what we're seeing when there's this many teams in fragment is there's pretty much just going to be a brawl to see who can make their way into the zone.
Yeah, definitely. You can see that zone shifting towards the regions around Countdown, and several different teams around Harvest, around Fragment West now need to start making their way into that zone. NODWIN Gaming as well, trying to get in, taking some shots right there. As you can see, beginning to bleed out, and it's now just left to the rest of his teammates. Magical Bro trying to evade those shots right there. The action coming in right now. Several different teams around him. Rudy make his way, trying to fight. Just getting shot out as Magical Bro does get taken down as well. It's just left with Element Caras found a way, and Seth and his teammates are now pushing up onto that position. Pops and Co trying to get that finish.
Yeah, and
Look at
Envy's
that, trying to run away.
Yeah, Envy's been really good thus far with their gunfights, and they just always look to clean up the fights as quickly as they can and get on with their rotation. There's no room to really run away when there's 3 people pushing you like that. But they are in the zone. The zone is close, thankfully, so they can just sit in here and collect all the loot that they need to. But there's still a lot of teams in Fragment. There's still one team in Survey Camp right now that need to make their rotation towards that trial area. And trial zones are probably some of the most unforgiving zones on the Apex Legends map. So teams right now that haven't made their rotations really need to start prioritizing that, or else it's going to be really detrimental towards them to really situate themselves in a good spot, act fire, to really close up the game. They're still 13 squads up, so it's far from over just yet.
Yeah, Envy is one of those teams, they came third in the last game. They've gotten themselves a couple of kills right now. They are getting into, a great position within that zone. So if they can hold a good spot right now, they may just be able to clean out this game. We do remember they didn't have such a great spot compared to Forgotten and Caras in the last game. And yeah, they probably are trying to set themselves up, to get as much kills as they can in this next game. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, and just the way the lobby is shaping up, it just looks like there's going to be a really big brawl towards that tower. That's outside landslide, as a lot of teams are going to be pulling in. And Visimus have officially changed their names here, so we will now be calling them Visimus as they are holding trials. And you can see it's just Scare left up on the team. It does look like the team ran into a lot of traffic trying to make their rotation, but Scare's in a good spot. And I mean, if anybody's watched Scare on any broadcast, you know that Scare has the pop-up potential to pretty much 1v3 any team. So for him, he knows he can still make a lot out of this game. Teams have decided to disperse with their rotation from Fragment, though. So they're not really looking to fight with each other. They're not running into each other. The one team making a good rotation through into the landslide where there aren't any really teams to cause too much traffic for them, but no one's really taking up that end game just yet or taking it as seriously as Scare is right now. But I mean, it makes sense, right? Playing as a solo, you kind of have to try and play for the end.
Exactly. And definitely what I'll be doing in this situation is, just staying away from as much fights as possible, just trying as much as possible to edge it, stay away from the fight and just get into, pretty much that top 5 or top 3 to get my team as much points as I can, because that's exactly what Visimus needs right now. They've gotten 1 win. They just need a couple of points. If he can get a couple of kills, that's all fair and good. But for me, I'll be, trying as much as possible to get placement points.
Jason making a rotate as well out here in the outskirts of the landslide area, just crossing in where Fragment meets. And there's a lot of teams in front of them that are gonna be looking to pick them off, perhaps, unless it's them that are gonna be the doing of the picking off. As Salvatore dishes out a lot of damage, but not really finding anything to really work with. And look at the zone putting in these teams as they are making this strenuous rotation. We've got Swarm Creatures there on the far left, and right in the middle, obviously JSN on the far right there. We had a team as well trying to make their way in. JSN is in a really tough spot, right? Because right in the middle on the low ground, coming into countdown, not really an optimal position to be in. But for now, they'll be safe. Lots of teams just not really prioritizing rotations. Yeah, I feel like fire, the zone's gonna close a lot of teams in, and then we're gonna just see pretty much an explosion of fights as teams are just trying to find a nook and cranny to work with.
I'm not really sure what exactly the plan is and why they're all deciding to fight outside that zone, but you can see several different teams have chosen that, have made that decision. And Predator OG and his team making bends now pushing up onto guys from We Win This, and I don't know. I don't know. Like, for me, getting into the zone should be the top priority for these teams, as they should be hoping to get into that top 3. But you can see right now, Afro just popping up shots right there, and just taking up shots at around several different teams trying to make that rotation. And what do you think, Dendo? What do you think, Dendo? How do you think they're playing with the right strats right here? Just holding up, positions outside the zone, or they should at all costs be trying to get into that center?
You know, at all costs, you should be trying to get into the center because it makes things a lot easier for your team. You'll be able to read up a lot of the information. And looking at the kill feed, JSN took out NV, so they'll be out for the rotation that is about to commence. So a lot of these other teams and a lot of teams starting to fall down in these fights. But yeah, I mean, the longer you hug the edge of the zone, the more prone you guys are to taking up these fights where you just have to hold off a lot of teams, because at the end of the day, you don't want those teams to get into positions that could be advantageous for yourself. As there's teams putting up to where Trials is. I wonder if Scare is still alive up there, as there's one team down below. It does seem like maybe there's another solo in the area, as we tune into Swamp Creatures, who seem to be putting down a tier here in the Lava Fisher. They are in the zone, and they found the team of Carries who have the man, the myth himself, Caramel, going down, and he's out for the count as well. So now it's just going to be Pac-Man and Jared playing Gibraltar, putting down the fire, laying it down as he tries his hardest to try and pull the team back into their favor. But Swamp Creatures are holding off well. They're not really giving Carries too much to work with here. They won't be able to get Caramel's banner as well, and teams are starting to close in on their location. Swamp Creatures need to close this one up though quickly, or else they risk getting dead body, and Zone's obviously behind their back. Jared with the flatline doing a lot of damage, but for now there is no angles to work for. They are all on top or dust down below, and the Zone's pulling them in. This is a tough fight right now for the team of the Carries at Fire.
Yeah, definitely. Just like you said, the Caras, finding it really tough right here. They got one player down, and the Swamp Creatures are just basically just, closing up on their position right now. I'll be curious to see how the guys from Caras just play this right here, as Jared is taking on some shots right there, hoping to get into a better spot, hoping to get into a better position against the guys from Swamp Creatures. And yeah, it's interesting to see how they're still staying alive, how they're still trying as much as possible to, hold up this position right here, as the guys from Swamp Creatures, Kano and his team with the Gibraltar right there, just putting in the shots onto Caras. And you can see right here, Pac-Man just trying to hold on right there, popping up those shots. And out they go to Swamp Creatures. Man, what do you think about that, Tinder? What do you think?
Pretty unfortunate that the early knock comes onto Caramel and puts them at a 2v3 disadvantage, and just playing from the low ground is obviously never a good idea. So unfortunate for Carries. You won't see them in the top 3 this time around, but I did see their name in the kill feed, so they've probably been picking up a lot of points, and the zone is closing in, and teams need to make their way onto Trials. And if you're stuck in Skyhook right now, it's not a good location to be unless you're Kaga. Putting down these Arna 9 shots, getting that knock in. We win these is also in the situation, and it does look like Afro is going to drop down. Hasn't found anybody just yet. It does look like there's lots of teams in this position, and they're just trying to find each other to try and fight, but they're on the opposite side of the mountain here, and they need to get into the zone, and it's DOFI who are in this fight, and they always seem to be into fights, and it's Predet with the Eva 8 dealing so much damage, gets the knock onto Afro. Gonna pull out of that situation, doesn't want to be involved anymore, and Kanga's still in this one, but we win these in a tough situation. Only the solo up to try and make something happen. Zone's pulling in, so many factors to play for. Predator's also the only one up on the opposite side. They need to make their way into the zone. It's a 1v1 situation. Predator on the opposite side of the wall. Eva 8 gets the clip through the wall, gets the shot, but the zone, the zone is gonna be the Grim Reaper in this situation right now, and Predator goes down to it.
Oh my goodness, that was crazy. At the end of the day, the two teams getting eliminated right there, but DOFI did put in a fight right there, trying as much as possible to stay in, but getting taken out right there by the zone. And this is what we're talking about throughout, prioritizing getting into a good position within that zone. That may not have happened. It may have still had a chance, but it was really interesting to see how the guys from Swamp Creatures took out, Carries, who came second in the last game. Visimus is still in this game, and yeah, I do think Scary is still in the game, right?
Not too sure. He is. He's there up at the top.
He is.
Controlling the high ground, but now we're probably looking at JSN, who are looking like big threats, because Swamp Creatures, who were doing so much throughout the entirety of their game, are down a member, and I'm not too sure they'll be able to find a res inside this situation as it stands. And here is Visimus with just Scare in a really tough situation right now to work with. At least he's got the high ground right at the end of the day. High ground wins games, and it's a knock coming through from JSN with Nye finding something. Look at Scare from this position. Scare is not backing off from anybody. He wants to put down as much damage as he can already on 1.1, obviously playing as a solo. And I mean, look, Visimus have been getting the points just based on position. And look at Scare making this play down. He's gonna try to find somewhere to play from. Not much room to work with, and he's going to be in front of everybody's eyes as the crossfire is coming in from everywhere. Zone's also going to be closing in pretty soon, so Scare going to have to back off for now and calm things down. Still 4 squads here.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how he's been able to get himself into a great position. He's all the way up to top 4, dragging his team right there, and that may just be enough points for his team to, still be on top of that table. But he's popping on them shots, saving, getting them damage, getting them knocks right there. He's obviously going to be making that push right there. He's doing it all on his own. This guy being absolutely crazy, living up onto his name. And oh my goodness.
Scare is definitely looking scary.
Right here.
But Swamp Creatures want to get involved in some of this action. Scare's in a tough spot to really make anything work. Furthermore, but the Q right now is clutch. He's gonna reposition. He's in a bit of an awkward spot. Crossfire from everywhere. 2 squads left. It's JSN now versus Swamp Creatures. Swamp Creatures has a big disadvantage. Obviously, with 1 player down, the ulti's gonna get popped through here from Salvatore. So now it's a big amount of pressure onto the team of Swamp Creatures, but the ulti's finding nothing. They're gonna make the big play here to use the jump pad to push onto 1. The Q comes through. The Q is good. Some damage coming in from the side here, but is Radical gonna do enough? Radical in a tough spot to work with, trying to do as much as he can, but it's not good enough here. The waging war between JSN and Swamp Creatures is going absolutely crazy, but no, it looks good here. JSN, they're gonna clutch it up. See the guys from JSN just clutching that one up and finally getting that win. It was an interesting thing, but for me, the key moment in this game was how Scare was able to take his team all the way to top 3. Impressive stuff.
I'm just saying, season 1, all I remember is Scare beaming with the Spitfire, and now it's with the 301. So the story continues, and Visimus, I mean, really, really good performance in terms of placement there for them. Unfortunately, I mean, considering they were only 1 member with 1 member alive, making it to 3rd is not bad whatsoever. And yeah, Caras carries the big unfortunate there. I think they got sandwiched between 2 teams trying to get, some early kill points, trying to take that fight early on, and it just didn't work out. Unfortunately, I think they weren't aware that there was a second team coming their way, and it just it fell apart there towards the end. But it is Battle Royale at the end of the day, and these things happen. RNG plays a beautiful game, and sometimes it's a cruel mistress. But second game done and dusted now. So, I mean, Tendo, what did you think about that? We've got some new winners, obviously, new top 10, new top 5. What's your thoughts?
I think the moral of the story is prioritize rotations there. I mean, Scare pretty much debunked everybody's theory on why you shouldn't be fighting outside of zone, right? Because for him, it's pretty much let me get to this spot, let me hold this spot, wait for everybody to come through. And from that spot, you have so much information to work with, right? So he tried to do as much as he can from that spot. Look, I'm not just trying to gas Scare up in this situation, but it's genuinely moral of the story. I feel even JSN made some good rotations in to get through the zone. Obviously, they were coming in from Fragment. They were able to just come through the countdown and make their way in. It's all about getting to the end game. Swamp Creatures as well. It was so tough between Caras and Swamp Creatures for a good reason, because they knew from that position that they were in, they were going to be able to work their way into that end game quite well and have a good spot to work with. So for me, it's definitely going to be the rotations that win the day.
We keep saying it, and we do really believe it. But We'll take a look at how it happens in the third map. For now, though, let's take a look at your MVP for the second match of the day. There it is. Fire. Would you take us through us?
Man, that is a whole lot of damage. I mean, he just got 1 kill, but Swamp Creatures did prove to be one of those teams that were, absolutely in a blast, taking out the guys from the Caras in that game. And yeah, for me, it's well deserved. It's well deserved from right there.
Woo! Mr. Liquipedia himself coming through there with the 1 kill and 1,717 damage. Absolutely well played to him. Wow. So match 2, done and dusted for Group D. We are officially at that halfway point that they have that opportunity to get themselves into those top 10 slots. And of course, you know the deal. We're going to be going to a short break. And when we come back, we'll pop onto the standings and start the third game of the day. It's getting close to that end. Don't know yet who's going to be going through to that top 10. So you definitely want to stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome everyone to the Apex Legends African Throwdown Cup 2 brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. So match 2 done and dusted. Take a look at those standings and see where the teams ended up, because we had an interesting one. We had a few teams that we thought were going to be in that top 5, unfortunately fall short and got a little bit sandwiched there towards the end. But it happens. Battle Royale. It is what it is. But what's interesting to me is how some of the teams that, we know did well, like TheForgotten, aka Visimus now, I see we've updated that officially, managed to get themselves into top 3 with only one player alive, and even then was still picking up some knocks. So here is the match standings. Tendo, if you would, please take us through it.
Coming through with first place is JSN, picking up 14 kills throughout that game, and they're really a dominating force for the most part. But I mean, looking across the board, kills were pretty distributed, so it didn't really feel like they were really dominating. I just feel like their rotation path was really gifted with a lot of congestion. I mean, they were on that fragment side where we saw a lot of teams, and then Swamp Creatures as well coming through, finished off quite well, coming through 15 points, 12 points then to DOFI, who, I mean, pretty surprised. I mean, in the first game, I was like, yeah, they're looking good. They're making some good calls, some good rotations. Mechanics are looking good. And I was like, in second game, are we really going to see something pop through? And we've definitely seen it come through here. Visimus coming in at 4th, Nerdish at 5th. 6th place came in with We Win These with 6 points, as well with 999, 5 points to Loowe, eNvy then with 4th, as well as Caras. So for the most part, I feel like as much as we saw, on our side, it pretty much dictates how the points are looking like right now.
Yeah, and once again, for a few of the teams, they're falling short there. 16 to 20, you're not picking up any placement points. Are a few teams that didn't actually show up today, so that would explain why they're there. But for the rest, you need to get some points in this next matchup. You need to switch things up, maybe go for those kill points, maybe hold strong and wait for those placements. But points definitely needs to be taken if you're sitting in that 11 to 20th now. Of course, the overall standings we'll only be taking a look at the end of the stream today. For the time being, we're just going to be going match by match and seeing how they rotate. Fire. We do see a few teams unfortunately struggling, with those rotations, running into a few teams. Any advice that you would give for those teams? I mean, you've seen now how it is. We're at the halfway point. You sort of know who are the better teams and who aren't. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, yourself and Caras right there, they got sandwiched in between two teams. But the most important thing for me, or the strange thing I saw in that last game, was a lot of teams are just sitting out zone. They need to rotate in as quickly as possible and, prioritize getting those placement points. That's the most important thing. Caras is a really great team, so there's no reason why they shouldn't be in, top 3 or top 5 easily.
And Ten, I mean, you were talking about Scare, he was holding there. He wasn't afraid of that zone this time around, and he was actually using that to his advantage. So there's another way that they could have played it, and he was still active. He was still very active, even though he was a solo. We want to talk more about that?
Yeah, and I mean, you have to be a little bit active in a position that he was in, right? It's once the zone closes in and you've kind of cleared your back, you're kind of guaranteed that no one's really going to be peeking over you. It's time to peek down into the valley, and like we always say on broadcast, shoot fish in a barrel pretty much, and finds that one knock on the side, which was really good, opened things up for him to kind of make a play and see what he can do. But ultimately, the tough part there is just that it was such a wide open zone that when he dropped from that high ground, it was just, he was just in the center of the crossfire, which was really tough for him to deal with. So you do have to look for what you can look for, right? At the end of the day, like I said, it's sometimes 1 point that really matters at the end. And if you can get that one extra kill, grief that one extra team in what way and form you can, as a solo, it's always good to try and do it.
Well, we saw that happen to some creatures, right? I mean, they dropped Gagne there towards the end, who really did fantastically up until that point of damage, but then it came down to a 2 versus 3, and then, the numbers just out-carried everything else, and that's how we saw Jason take that W and ultimately come out on top for the second match. So again, that small difference of taking one player out, maybe doing the damage, getting rid of those consumables, really makes a difference towards the end, and I think for a lot of teams, that's maybe what they would want to go for, is those early fights, pick up those KP points, and then later on they can just get into zone, bunker down, and hope and wait for the zone to pull their way and hopefully to their advantage. But World's Edge so far, I think, has been a lovely addition, a lovely change up. Obviously, the zone and the maps are extremely different. We've got such a beautiful landscape to work with, and unfortunately, some parts that aren't so forgiving. There's plenty of lava to go around for everyone, and if the zone's not catching you, that lava seems to be doing quite a bit of damage there. So we'll hopefully be seeing a lot of teams avoiding that for the time being. But I think distribution-wise, we've had a fairly safe bet. I think teams seems to be still sticking to their same spots. Are there any spots on the map, Tendo, that you think are maybe underutilized?
Thermal station, ladies and gentlemen. No one is going to thermal. You know, I mean, we're all used to, if we see WRG in the lobby, go to thermal because that's kind of like what they've made their home right now. But today, no one's going to thermal, and thermal has so much loot to work around. It's got some good rotations as well. You know, you have access to where staging is, to where tree is, and if you're lucky and you get the zone, yes, man, thermal station zones are hard to deal with, and it really helps if you're there already. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe someone's seen that, you know. And I always say that when you're in a lobby and you're not too aware of what the drop spots are like, it's always sometimes okay to just hang inside the drop ship and just wait and see exactly where everybody goes, right? Because if a spot is left untouched and it's a good spot, you should probably go to that spot, right? Because it'll really put your team at an advantage. Whereas if you try go to a spot where it's maybe a little bit more congested, you know, the rate and the statistics on teams contesting each other and finishing at the top of the point table is really low right now. So it's not a good idea.
It's exactly that. And I mean, there's a lot of teams, struggling with loot towards the end. And if you're not finding anyone, which I mean, I saw a few teams do, they were taking rotations that they were just somehow, some way missing out on every possible team. So towards those latter fights, they didn't really have the best loot because, I mean, the rotations that they picked or the spots that they picked weren't sustainable, weren't the best. But we're going to be going straight into the third map of the day. Group D qualifiers are happening. For everyone watching, it's only the top 10 going through, and this is their third last chance to do so. So Tendo, Fire, Gads, take it away.
That second game, we saw JSN really come through and show why they were pretty much a big force in that first African Throwdown here, Act Fire. They were obviously playing as lag back then, but you can still see them keeping some of those components that's granted them quite a large amount of success in that second game. Do they continue it over in this third game, though, ladies and gentlemen? Once again, this is the African Throwdown hosted by NODWIN Gaming. And make sure you go check out that new NODWIN Gaming Africa website. It is looking nice and snazzy. But again, back to the question here at hand. Does JSN do it again, Actfire?
I mean, they did get themselves a really good position. They're one of the few teams that, did it right in that last game and got themselves into, a good place when, quite early. And yeah, they may be looking to do that again. But the guys from, Visimus obviously would have that same idea as you did see from Scare. And obviously, if they don't lose, players right there at the beginning, they may be able to go on and actually, get into those spots. And I do fear for any team that's going to meet them right now. Imagine what Scare could do on his own now with a full team. So for me, yeah, they do still have a chance, but let's just wait and see how it goes.
Only teams in the lobby right now running Revenant is Loowe. And I think I saw one of the other teams up at the top there also running the Revenant. And Revenant's tough character, I feel, to play on World's Edge, just given on how big the map is. It works a little bit better on maps like King's Canyon, where everything's a little bit more compact and it's a little bit easier to get over, especially utilizing that jump pad with Octane. But on World's Edge, you can sometimes put yourself at a little bit of a disadvantage trying to close at a distance in that way and form. But right now, the teams are making their way to their drop spots. And I think it's interesting to see that Visimus actually peaks Countdown. And Countdown's an interesting P, why Actfire actually added back in Season 6.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking to see how things are gonna go in this particular game. You can see the different teams just moving into several different spots
Wait,
right
how
there.
many teams I had overlooked? Do you see that as well? It is stacked. It's a madness, but actually looks like a couple are backing away. So it's actually just two. I thought for a
Okay.
moment there we're gonna see three teams contest each other on the same POI. It was gonna be a madness, honestly.
Yeah, we might see them come against each other because they do know where they're all chilling right now. You can see the guys from Visimus just holding the position around countdown and maybe looking to drift into what's that center. And this is exactly what we did say. The guys from Visimus are one of those teams that do prioritize getting into the zone as quickly as possible. So yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to play this one. But another team that we do need to look out for is Caras. They'll probably pretty much be coming out for revenge in this game. Getting taken out, quite early in that last game was obviously not, their plan. So yeah, they're another team that may just, run rampage in this game.
Yeah, and they were contested that overlook, if I saw correctly. So they might get themselves into a fight, and it does look like that is waging as we speak. Skyhook as well. There's a bit of a collision happening there with some of the teams towards that north side where Skyhook is, and towards Climatize as well. We've got a lot of teams just stacked on top of each other, in front of each other. Big play is coming through here on top of Visimus, who have come down from Countdown to try to cause a little bit of trouble on top of We Win These. We Win These. A little bit of a tough situation to deal with the likes of Visimus, but Visimus is actually the team at a disadvantage here. Ali's down already. Neo's here. Neo's trying to pop up some shots with the Mastiff, but the Mastiff not enough, and they go down, and We Win These do definitely live up to the name.
Oh my goodness, I didn't actually see that one coming, but it does look like Kaga just put in the work right there, and yeah, got his team that win. My goodness, bro. Did you see that one coming? Did you see Visimus going out quite early right there?
Bit interesting, to be honest with you. I think they just made a bit of a misplay with how they pushed that fight. But now we don't even have any time to analyze that as the fight waging war. Yeah, that overlook. Caramel with the charge rifle, trying to do a little bit of damage, but it's not really finding too much of a head to deal with there. Imperial's the team on the opposite side. And so now Carries really need to win this fight off, because as soon as that zone starts to close in as well, they're going to start being put under a lot of pressure. And now it's just a back and forth between the two teams.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, what they're going to decide, if they're going to make, that push onto the guys from Carries or the other way around. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes. The guys from Carries will obviously be prioritizing, all be prioritized getting into that zone and getting into a good position. But Imperial are just pretty much just holding them back at this particular point in time. Let's see what Caramel Gamer and his teammates do decide to do, and what play they decide at the end of the day. See how it goes.
I believe We Win These was in our last African Throwdown, but they do have a bit of a different look coming into this one, ladies and gentlemen. So they definitely do have some experience. If they're putting up some new players on the roster to come shake things up, and they've definitely shaken us up. But it looks like Caramel's trying to make a big play here to cause a bit of an earthquake at this point, as him and Jared are pulled up against this wall. They're just trying to find a play, and they swoop in. Don't find anybody inside the building for now. And yeah, man, these two teams are wasting a lot of time, and it also looks like the team from Climatizer might just get involved and start making a rotation up here. Zone is going to be pulling towards that countdown landslide area, and it's going to be pretty open-ended for a lot of these teams. So it's another one of those zones here, Act Fire, where teams need to just focus on their rotations. Look at what's happening outside of Lava City and Lava Siphon. There's a fight waging, and it's Element Gaming holding the top of this compound, just trying to look for a couple of angles to work with, and charge rifle shots coming through.
See someone out there?
Loowe is one of those teams that we've seen, some talent in them, and we know they can fight. We know they can get the kills, but they've not just gotten themselves into a good position right here. So, and they're taking up some shots right here. It does look like they're not in a really advantageous spot, and they do need to find a way to get out of that sticky situation right there.
Yeah, team's going to opt for the low ground, rotate into Lava Siphon. Not really looking to take that fight up. It's still too early in the game to really be investing yourself into such. As well as the opposite team going to make their way back into the geyser. Again, man, at least this zone is a little bit more central for teams to initially work their way in. But again, it is pulling towards that east side. So a lot of teams, I mean, that west side. So a lot of teams on the east are going to really struggle making their way through a lot of the chokeholds on the map. And there's still a fight happening at Skyhook. And I believe that Windies is probably involved in that one. He's retreating to Afro, taking up a lot of damage. Jared's gotten a kill in the kill feed, so it looks like the team of Caras is making things happen, and they've cleaned up that fight over at Overlook. So they'll be still in this one, still in this affair with us. 15 squads still up, as Afro's just trying to pop some shots through with the G7 Scout.
All right, so for me, this are two giant killers, right? This is Swamp Creatures who took out Caras in the last game versus We Win This, who's just taking out Visimus, and it's pretty much interesting to see how these two teams are gonna go at each other. They're pretty much just sending each other shots right now, and I'm not sure if they're gonna make that final push against each other, but it's interesting to see who does take out who right there. But see those amount of teams just holding it up at the guys, and they got to get into that zone as quickly as possible because it's closing in now. They're going to be fighting themselves and the zone at the same time while trying to make their way in. It's just ridiculous.
Charge rifle. Been putting up a lot of numbers for players in the lobby thus far. And Element Gaming is going to be holding off a team here in the tunnel. Nades come through onto the Caras. They're fighting to just stay alive. It does look like Pac-Man is down, and Jared's taking a lot of damage from the zone. They're going to have to pull back out of this one to try and put a little bit of health on top of themselves. Doing well with the nades to just hold off for now as they peek back in. They're trying to get Pac out of this one. A bit of a exfil situation for the team of Caras caught up in the zone, but they can potentially get this res and reset. It doesn't look like Element Gaming is making the play to go and aggress on top of this, and they will be able to get Pac-Man up. They're just opting for the loot here. And this is interesting right now. The team's giving each other a little bit of respect to reset. Oh wait, Caras are getting gatekept on another team, but the zone, Caramel, you can't be hitting that stem. He's gonna go down to the zone, I think. Ooh. Everybody's gonna start going down to the zone, but Jared's here to try to get the reses. At least for the most part. Caramel also was able to get a knock though on the one, so they'll be walking away some kill points. But yo, man, Caras are really trying to cut this one close. Jared swooping around the corner with the vault. Does a lot of damage. Doesn't find the knock though. Just gonna stabilize for now.
Man, we did talk about this, you know, before the start of the game, and we're talking about Caras being a really good team. They're an aggressive team. They know how to push. They know how to get the kills. But they got to get themselves placement points. They're in the zone right now, and they got to make that move. They got to make that move. They got to push all the way in because, you know, placement points is always, you know,
the timing.
It's what it's all about.
Oh, guys. No, it's just tragic, the spot that they're in right now. Caras, they need to make their way in, and just look how many teams are on that side of the zone for them. It's going to be really tough, but once they do find a little bit of solace to work with and work their way into the zone, it's going to be good. The zone is going to still pull towards landslide. It's going to be opening up a little bit more so and not pull towards that countdown side. So teams really need to find some form of real estate to work with in that zone and not get caught up in these rotation fights that we've been seeing so often. But for now, everything is steady around the map. 12 squads still up here.
All right, so we got 12 squads, 32 players, and yeah, I mean, so far in this lobby, Tendo, do you think there's been any one team that has, you know, just stood up for you as the dominating team?
Tough to call, right? I mean, from the first two games, you have to say right now it's between Visimus and JSN, but Caras are pulling in and looking pretty good. But yeah, man, I think we'll just have to see. I think after this third game, we'll really have a dominant figure in the lobby, right? I feel like we'll see who does pretty well in this third one, and then we'll really know who's going to be a big threat moving in, especially towards that semifinals, because they'll start to become a conversation on who is going to be in that semifinal. Zone is pulling in now. Everybody as teams are starting to make their way into the zone. But damn, man, there are so many teams not in there right now, and they're all gonna basically be forced to kind of go through that top side in the north. And it's going to be really detrimental. There's going to be so many fights that break loose there, Act Fire, on that east fragment side. I mean, that west fragment side.
Yeah, exactly. Just like you said, there's several different teams, who are making in those late rotations, and will now need to make their way in. It's going to be really tough. I do feel like we're going to lose some teams right here. We're going to see some fights coming in, right at the edge of that zone.
Kraken are caught out. And they're unfortunately running things as a duo. The zone's gonna start to tick, but thankfully they're just in here. They're just in, so they'll be safe for the most part. Oh my goodness, look how many teams are outside of Fragment. The zone's gonna pull up for them, and they're all gonna realize that they're gonna have to rotate. And I'm sure the fights there, Fragment, there's so many teams stacked up to each other. It's gonna be a waging one. That's exactly what's happening here. DOFI, they're getting jumped on top of. They even 8 shots though coming through. They do a lot of damage. There's ultis jumping from left, right, and center. There's a Gibraltar dome in the middle. There's a little bit of cover for the teams to work with as well as the building. And it's just a sandwich right now of teams just trying to find their way to go into the zone. But for now, everything's a little bit calm. Everybody's got somewhere to play for. But yo, man, when we tuned into this, it was just going crazy.
Man, absolutely going crazy right now. You can see the guys from DOFI just taking
Carries, they're so low, they're in the zone. Look at that. Oh, they are.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We spoke about this. The Caramel game. I just tried as much as possible to get into that zone. Really, really tough.
Oh man. So many teams here. Caramel's still alive though. Pac-Man might be irresistible, but not too sure on where his position is. For the most part, Caramel's just up to make his way into the zone and try camp things up. He is going to be able to get the banner of 1. He might actually try and get all 3 banners here, make his way into zone, find himself with a res opportunity and pull his team back into this. They might even have themselves a mobile res. DOFI's gatekeeping a team, trying to make their way in from the construction building, but shots are flying in from left, right, and center. Where do you even peek from? It's the teams everywhere, and eNvy's involved here as well in this fragment rotation. They're in a tough spot. They've been doing so well tonight. I think when you ask me to act fire on a team that who I thought would be a really good rival here, I thought, eNvy as well in that conversation. It does look that the team of JSN is running through the lobby for the most part, picking up kills from all the members of the team. But now 10 squads in and zone is pulling in again, act fire, and still teams not in the zone. It's going to be so tough for these teams to get in.
Yeah, definitely. DOFI is one of those teams, trying to get into a better spot right here. They've been great so far. As far as I say now, they're trying to get into the action right here as they are popping up some shots right there. You can see Predate OG. My goodness, we've talked about this, how the names come in and make it really difficult for us.
The zone pulling in, teams trying to make their way in. Salvatore's gone down on the likes of JSN, so they'll be playing as a duo for the most part. Look at where Caramel is. He's made such and covered so much distance. And JSN's trying to keep the team coming in from here, which is DOFI and the zone. It's not worth it. You predict, you just got to get into this one. Or else it's going to be curtains for the team. Still 9 squads up, and oh, look at JSN. They're coming for this. They want these points. They know he's going to be solo around the corner here. And is Predict ready for this? Oh, wait. Does he take the jump pad in the wrong direction? He goes into the zone there. A bit worried for Nye. The zone is taking for a lot of damage unless they're going to go for some loot. Oh, look at Predate. Predate is catching them out, sleeping with their socks down, with their pants down, with everything down. But luckily, it's fine for them. They'll just hold the angle for now, the team of JSN. Wait, they're trying to arrest the Mandem in front of Predate. Is Predate gonna let this happen? Predate is here. JSN also know about the situation. They want to clean him up. They want to take care of him. They're looking for him. But it looks like Predate is gonna run away. And I think Jason's going to get the member back in. There's lots of loot to work with, but the zone is going to be closing in very soon. Fire. And look, they're on the opposite side of this wall. There's still teams on the opposite side of this wall that need to make their way in. And nobody, except for this one team, is prioritizing a position.
Man, it's just sad to see, man. It's just sad to see that a whole lot of teams are just, focusing on getting those fights. For me, at some point in time, you just got to pull out and get into that zone and prioritize getting into at least that top 5.
9 squads, though, so top 5 is still very far away for a lot of these teams. Rotations are finally coming in from a couple. Landslide, a bit congested. There is what appears to be a duo split up, if I'm not mistaken. So that one person needs to be really careful because there's a full 3 stack on top of him. How have they not seen him? They have seen him taking shots at that poor player, whoever it is. I'm so sorry. Kraber in the hands of Chronic, so things might pop off pretty soon as we tune into what First in Battle is doing. The shot comes through from Chronic. Oh, you love to see the Kraber in play, and nothing you can really do from this position is powerful, and the shot comes through again. He hits it. Oh, it's just a travesty. It's devastation coming through for this Bang player here. Oh, you can't do anything against it. It's Chronic with the Kraber putting up so many numbers. Another one. Whoa. Oh my goodness. He's on a rampage. He doesn't want to stop. He wants to take everybody's name in the lobby holding this top tower. And nobody has an answer against Chronic right now.
Man, the way Chronic was getting those hits with that Kraber, man, that was wild. That was wild. And it does look like Sinister is hoping to make that push right there onto that team. Popping up some shots right there.
Oh,
and the Kraber comes in again.
Oh. Oh. My goodness, I have never seen anybody on a broadcast pull out so many numbers from the Kraber, but First in Battle is making a big mistake here. There's not enough damage to work with, and the one goes down now. So now it's a big disadvantage. They're gonna have to work a 2v3. And the 2 players are so far away from their teammate. The Wraith is so unfortunate after such good damage coming in from Chronic. Everything seems to be crumbling unless he gets something. Yeah, he can! He hits the one shot again! But it's not enough to get the knock. But maybe they will be able to get the res, and the res looks good, at least for the most part. Buys them a little bit of time. Still 6 squads up here, and it's Jason, who have just been taking this fire this whole time. And for them, they're actually going to make this play. They're going to make the play on this while the rest is coming through over here. Dash uses the grapple to get up to Chronics. No, there's not much you can really do now. They've closed the distance. They're closing them out. Not too many shots on that Kraber for them to work with, though. So Jason does well here to clean everything up. But man, what a bit of entertainment did we get from First in Battle. Oh no, Cronus is still up. Yeah, they're pulling up on him. Flatline in hand, can make something happen, but not enough as the grapple comes through from Dash.
Oof, that was wild. That was really entertaining to see the Kraber right there just coming in and putting in the shots, but JSN just coming in with a clean wipe at the end of the day. Really interesting to see how they played that one, how they managed to get that knock and push onto and get that final clean. Great job for them. They're looking like a team looking to run through with this. We still got about 3 teams left, and JSN is still making that push. We're down to top 3, as you can see right here. Now Streams is making that push right there with Octane getting in the shots right there. Ooh. Ooh. Oh my goodness.
Looks like JSN's looking to clean up the lobby right now. 2 squads are up. And JSN, they came back from the bottom. They had to get the player back in. And it doesn't look good for this team to close it up as they're just attacking from every single angle. And JSN coming through and swooping through as your champions of team number 3. Backs your back for the team as well. You love to see it.
We asked the question, who was bossing the lobby? Definitely JSN has answered.
Apex champions.
My goodness, I feel the storyline is, it has to be the Kraber, right? I feel like the Kraber in that situation was just a joy to watch. My goodness.
Whatever you guys do in the last map, this is now to the teams and the players. Whatever you do, if you see a Kraber, you make sure Chronic doesn't touch it. Don't let him take it, because that was ridiculous. I mean, picking up that amount of damage, it was a misplay on them actually getting a little bit greedy, I think. The hype was there, the Kraber shots, the comms were obviously going mad, saying, I'm hitting these shots, boys! And then unfortunately the push came through and it didn't quite work out. JSN though, they played that very, very well. If I was in that situation getting tapped in the face by Kraber 24/7, I would not be as calm as they were, and they'd go and actually take the fight to them. So beautifully played from them to take that through, and back to back as you mentioned, which is I don't know, I'm a little confused because Vicinus, they went out early, Caris, sorry. They went out, I think, around 5th, 4th, somewhere around there. Managed to rat it out to that point, I think, as a solo. Caramel did. So, these two top teams that we were really sitting and waiting for aren't the teams that we're talking about. We're talking about JSN instead. Tendo, what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, and look, man, it's just, I think that region in general, I mentioned this when we had some Turkish players on broadcast, the Tunisians as well, that Middle East African region up right at the top there are just full of FPS gods, to be honest with you, man. They just been breeding them, for the longest time, I feel, they always pull up such a good show. So it's really tough for a lot of teams to try and keep up and compete with them and how fast they play. And JSN is no exception to that. I mean, they make exceptionally fast calls, exceptionally fast rotations as well. And for them, in that situation where they were getting pelted by the Kraber, they will still had the confidence to come back and push the team that had the high ground. Those are the kind of calls you have to be making in the mid round, right? You have to be like, guys, for us to win this game, we need to get rid of this team right here. We have all the high ground. We get all the control of the zone straight afterwards, man. So, shout out to them.
Yeah, absolutely beautifully composed play coming through there from GSN to take the next map in a row. 2 in a row. It's going good for JSN so far, but let's take a look at your MVP for Game 3 of Group D's placements. And as it stands, Tendo, take us through this, please.
Salvatore coming in, 1.6 damage, 9 kills. And I mean, the team, where they land, it makes so much sense, right? They're getting so much of the traffic, so they're able to just clean up so many kills. They're so mobile, and they're playing so in sync that it's just almost hard to stop them. I mean, even towards the end over there, we saw them playing as a duo, and I always say that when you play as a duo, it's a little bit easier to work with, right? Because comms are a little bit cleaner between 2 people than with 3, but it's always just as hard, right? Because you always at a man disadvantage. But they came in playing as a duo, making things happen just the same. So right now, JSN cleaning up names, and it's basically a mirroring effect of what we saw with the Carthaginians, I feel, right? Here, guys, anybody sensing that same kind of flavor? No, just me. Okay, cool.
Chiropractor's coming in, man. Chiropractor's coming in. Look, I do think that we cannot sleep on a team like GSN. They have really picked up their socks, and they are looking so good to take this. I'm very curious about what those overall standings are going to be looking like, but we still have one more map, and that will come after the short break. So stay with us. The NODWIN Gaming African Throwdown is still underway. Cup 2 is bang to go crazy in the last map of the day. So stay right where you are. Get some popcorn maybe, but we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Apex Legends African Throwdown Cup 2, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. Game 3 done and dusted. Group D slowly but surely getting to that point where they have all found their 10 slots, and we know who will be moving on to the final phase or the next phase, and who unfortunately will be saying goodbye to tonight. Let's take a look at those standings from match 3 and see who did what, who picked up some crazy Kraber shots and maybe enough kill points with those Kraber shots, and who got the W. There it is. Okie dokie. Tendo, once again, we're looking at JSN. We're looking at JSN.
My goodness, bringing in the heat all the way from Egypt here. JSN coming in with 19 kills in that game. And I feel like we didn't even get to witness how much of a rampage they went through, right? They just cleaning up the lobby for the most part with 31 points. And I mean, for the most part, we all know JSN's in that semi-final right now. They're sitting comfortably. So for them, this game going to come through, breeze through. Excited to see that Envy is doing pretty well tonight as well, right? Sitting with 16 points after that game. So they're making their way, making their name through everything. 99 coming in at third. Caras carries doing well. Caramel clutches them up with those placement points, and you can just see how crucial placement points are, right? Here is right. Look, 5 kills, and they get 5 points for placement. It's almost just like you don't even need to take those fights, and you've gotten those points in a sense, in its own way and its own form. First in battle, then coming through. Who we saw those crazy Kraber shots coming in from Chronic, which had us all at the edge of our seats. After that, we win these DOFI, Loowe, Kraken, and the Olympians. Don't see Swamp Creatures up there, which is a little bit shocking. You know, they were doing good. And Visimus as well, right?
Yeah, but we saw Visimus going out pretty early on, so I'm not surprised that we find them there. I think, well, by the looks of it, looks like they're one of the first teams to actually go out, as we know those last two weren't actually there, so that's big unfortunates for them. But for some of the other teams, it gave them a bit of an opportunity to shine, and we saw that happening there. Map 3 was absolutely cracked towards the end, but once again, a lot of teams falling victim to those rotations. I feel like that's all we talk about when we talk about the issues that we see these teams struggling with, and that's always to come with running into another team and RNG just not doing what it does best, and unfortunately being a cruel mistress. But Tendo, I mean, JSN obviously looking very comfortable. For Visimus though, you know, we saw them really pop off in that first game, obviously. Fantastic work. Second game, you know, Scar picked up some placement points. Third game, they fell off immediately. So far, though, I think they should be safe. You know, Caras carries as well. Is there any other teams that you think, pretty much have done their job for the day?
Yeah, I'm looking at Envy. They've done their job. They're looking good. I think even though Swamp Creatures didn't put up any too many points in that last game, I think, you know, their first 2 games were pretty decent. Looking good to continue things out. And I mean, the scatters of teams here and there, I think Loowe as well, I've seen them as well. They're being kind of consistent for the most part. So I think teams are doing good. They need to just improve again. I feel like we just get these fights and fragment the whole time. And, you know, with Apex Legends zones, you get these days where the zone just decides to pull on the one side for majority of the day. And that's kind of happening today, right? It's always towards that west side, towards that northwest side, you know. So a lot of the teams on the east always struggling to make their way in. And that's a really big problem to get a lot of these placement points in the lobby. And yeah, I think they just need to improve on rotations. And then these teams that are struggling can probably shoot themselves right to the top.
That is the case. And I mean, Tony, there's a few teams obviously that we've been looking at and a few teams that have slipped through the woodworks. What are some of the teams that you are looking forward to seeing in this next matchup?
I feel like
Sorry, no problem. I'm hoping to see Viximus, you know, come in and perform better. They have had one win, but you know, they went out early in the last game, so obviously they want to perform more and probably get into that top 5 and secure the bag, because you never really know where they're standing right now in the overall leaderboard. So yeah, they're the one team that I'm definitely looking at to see, you know, how they do.
Well, fourth game. The fourth game is about to get underway. As we look at it, this is the last opportunity for Group D to pick up those points and get them within that top 10 spot and get a slot for the next phase. So I'm going to be giving it over to your casters, Tendo Plays and Fire, to take you through the action on World's Edge. For the last time today, it's going to be correct. Guys, take it away.
All right, here we go. It's late in the evening here as we close off the day with this final game, Act Fire. And I mean, JSN, pretty much the storyline right now. You know, the headlines, the in our names, the have really gone through the lobby in these last two games. I mean, what happened in the first game? You know, why did they struggle so much in the first game, do you feel? And why have they found such a good footing thus far moving forward?
I think basically they were just starting the lobby. They were just getting a feel of how several people were playing, and then after seeing how things went down, they then decided to prioritize, getting into that center. And part of the strategy in which the entire guys in the lobby have been playing might actually be working to their favor. As you can see, several different people are just prioritizing, just edging it, and getting into that zone late. And it was almost ridiculous to see in the previous two games. And they're just, holding a good spot and able to just farm out kills from several teams trying to get in.
And it's going to be interesting to see what the final picks of the day are going to be like here, because this is that game, right? Agfire, where everybody's like, okay, things have been going this way. Let's swap things around and see if it's going to work for this final game that we might need to qualify. And I can already see AverageBunch not looking to lose that Revenant, right? I think Average Joe himself was using the Revenant quite often, but it looks like they're opting away as well, as it looks like Loowe not using Revenant as well. And you can understand why. In this kind of map, in this kind of lobbies, sometimes you don't really find success with those pushes. It can sometimes put you at a bit of a disadvantage, but for the most part, picks across the board. We're seeing lots of Octanes, again, lots of Caustics. Sia's been a big pick, Gibraltar's been a big pick as well. Wraith has taken a big toll. I feel like we have never seen a Wraith at such a low point in terms of selection rate in any lobbies.
Yeah, I I don't know. I actually thought I'll see more raids, in this particular lobby, but it does look like a lot of people are opting for that Octane, Gibraltar characters so far that I've seen. But the few people that have chosen raids are actually using raid quite successfully. Isn't that what Scare is using?
Yeah, Scare was using Wraith, but I mean,
Yeah.
Scare's main has always been tried and true with Wraith. And interesting to see
Yeah.
Visimus choosing the Frag East drop. We saw them at a countdown in the last game, so I wonder if they're just trying to pop up with something different for this final game. Teams in and around the map. No one again is going towards that lava station area, but maybe actually teams are looking to overshoot this. And yeah, we're actually getting our first team tonight at lava station. I mean, thermal station. So that's going to be really good. And look, it's like, look, I'm not saying I'm like a psychic or anything like this, but it's just a thing that happens with Apex Legends zones on the day, where they just always seem to pull towards the same direction over and over again. And here we are again, Act Fire, in a spot where all these teams on the east have to make this long rotation to the west.
Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting to see right there. Fragment is the guys from Viximus already. They don't have to make that quite long journey right there. But you can see SaffasUnited. We haven't probably seen too much of them so far right now. Just taking them shots right there.
Oh, yeah, and trying to hold off right now, Wes, but goes down, and even the gas isn't going to be enough to hold them in this situation. So now it's down to a 2v3 for the team, as they are going to look to try and clean things up for the most part. Another goes down. It's all up to Mac. And Mac goes out to the likes of none other than JSN, causing a rampage in the lobby. And Nye is playing Fuse. Fuse, very interesting pick, to be honest with you. You don't see too many Fuse players. The last time we saw Fuse, I believe, was on the first day of the African Throwdown, where the Grim Reaper himself, John Wick Vyaz, was using him.
But JSN already beginning to kick off right there, getting a couple of kills to their name, and yeah, already beginning to seem like a team that may want to run away with this one. I mean, at this particular point in time, they've already qualified, so it probably doesn't matter what they do as they do move on in this game. You can see the guys from AverageBunch right here taking on some shots right there, trying to make that push, trying to go up right there. Neo and Cole do look like they're making that chase. Average sees, just getting taken down by Scare right there, and Viximus just coming into this one and making that move. They're going in for the rest, for the last guy from AverageBunch, and you can see Joe just trying to get them shots right there, but most likely gonna be figured out. And popping up some shots onto Scare right there. Scare's just waiting, just chilling, and taking them shots. Ooh.
Yeah, just gonna shoot him out of the sky like one of those clay pigeons, unfortunately, in that situation. Vissimus pulling ahead. The kill leader right now is Scare, who has actually swapped onto a different legend here, Agfire, actually playing a Wraith. So, yeah, your call on that one is a little bit off, unfortunately. We are having almost a Wraithless lobby until we pull up to Carnival, who is actually playing Wraith as the team here on the outskirts. Climatizer at the edge of the zone, and the Rampage coming through here from the Mirage player, doing so much damage from Loowe, who are going to be waging war in this situation. And I believe even Envy is involved here, so there's a couple of teams that are going to be congested here at Climatizer, and Envy's looking to get involved with Loowe, who are backed off in the building. They don't really have kind of legend composition to really be holding the building too well. As soon as they breach these doors, it's going to just be a gun war between the two.
So one of the skills that I haven't really seen a lot of players use, Mirage, which is trick in this game. Haven't really seen, the dead totem being activated so far. Why do you think a lot of players are? Oh, but getting back to Loowe right here, you can see Becky trying to put in the shots right there, and
Gets the wingman shot, Sephi. Sephi's coming through. He'll be connecting almost every single wingman shots, but Loowe misses the crucial one towards the end here. Loowe's still up. It's Dixon, but Dixon goes down. And Envy cleans it up easy for them as they breach through the doors and clean up the remainders of the team. And Loowe, that's not good for them because they're going to be put under pressure here. I feel Agfire, they were pretty consistent in the last 3 games, but this 4th game might be detrimental. As we go, detrimental, it looks like Vissimus is trying to swoop in, but Neo goes down, and now Scare's going to pull in. Mastiff in hand, trying to connect the shots. He gets some good cracks in here. He gets the 1 knock. Going to spin around with the L-Star, absolutely frying them. Across the corridor here is Scare as Vissimus comes through to clean them up. And Vissimus are absolutely tearing through the lobby right now.
Definitely what you do expect from the guys from Vissimus and Scare and his players just looking to get those kills, coming in at the right particular time and taking out the guys MV from the lobby. Definitely not going as they would have expected.
Vissimus is looking pretty mobile as well, right? Because we saw them take that fight in Fragment, and now they're all the way at Climatizer trying to clean it up. And oh no, nice disconnected JSN. The rule looks to be ending here, unfortunately, as Nerdish is on the opposite side here. Nerdish is looking to be a little bit aggressive, but the sniper's in the hand of one of the members here. It's Salvatore. Salvatore's the only person alive right now, waiting for Nye to potentially reconnect. Salvatore needs to be a brick wall for his team. Trying to pop a couple of shots. The PK connects to a little bit, but not too much. Nerdish looking a little bit haphazard on their side. It's going to look to get the banner of Dash for now. As Nye is still nowhere to be seen for the most part. It does look like the player's going to swoop around, and Junkie takes a couple of shots, but good Q comes through from Salvatore to get out of that sticky situation. He's just going to try to rotate out with the banner of Dash and look for this res to pull them still in this conversation in this 4th game. 13 squads still up.
JSN not having, quite an easy time as they had in the previous games, but it's interesting to see how they're able to pull out of that particular fight. Viximus looking really good in this game so far, Tendo.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good, cleaning things up. But look again, man, it's just this Frag West situation where there's just going to be all these teams stacked on top of each other, and Vissimus is going to be involved in that conversation. So let's hope they can make their way in. Team deep inside Skyhook and a team in Trials as well, trying to make their way in. And it's actually Swamp Creatures who we're tuning into just outside of Lava Siphon, looking to gatekeep a team. And this team of Element Gaming is on a tough spot as Element Man goes down himself. And now Swamp Creatures can clean this one out from a distance if they can, and the G7 scout shots, yeah, do a lot of damage. It looks like they're going to go in for this one and just try to clean up the team. And why is DJ Sponge taking so much damage? And it's that lava that's all over the map of World's Edge that can sometimes be a nuisance. And it's definitely being a nuisance in that situation. DJ Sponge is going to try and survive as a solo. But for how long can he survive as a solo? Swamp creatures need these points. You know, they're not too comfortable, I feel. You know, they've performed well, but they definitely need to put a few more points up on the board, and this is how they're looking for it.
Yeah, I feel like right now, you know, they want to get those kills, you know, but they should probably just prioritize getting into that zone, getting closer to staging, and, you know, just getting as much points as they can, not trying to get the kills. I mean, that pretty much is what I'll be doing at this particular point in time. We're down to 13 teams. They clearly would want to get into that top 5.
And things are a bit slow in this game for the most part. We're not really seeing too much of an explosion of action in this mid-round. As Visimus is making their way towards the zone. Zone is pulling towards that staging area. We do have a couple of teams stacked on top of each other, trying to shoot and make their way in. I believe that's even a solo already in the game. Unfortunately, they'll be like that sometime. It's Caras who are here. I'm trying to pop these shots, trying to make their way in against 999. We're just holding a little bit of a high ground as they peek on over into the valley, but it does look like Caras is rather going to back off from the situation than really involve themselves for now, because they've been performing well, but they definitely know they'd like to just close it off as decently as well as they can in terms of finishing as high on the table. You know, it's always good to walk away even from the group stages with like some good points.
Exactly. Definitely will be a confidence boost for them. But, you know, the one thing, you know, we know they can fight. We know they can do well. But most likely, a lot of times, they do get caught out in the zone. And there's a couple of players. They're taking some shots right there from 999 as Mac is just putting in the work right there with that R201. And, you know, they're sending them the shots right there, trying as much as possible to take them down. This is where Caras, you know, need to show, you know, their zeal, their fight. And, you know, yeah.
Hostile spotted.
999 able to just control this high ground for now. It doesn't look like the team of Caras is really looking to come back and fish here for a third party. At least they shouldn't now, because everything's stabilized for the most part. You still have Mac at the back looking, making sure that nobody's gonna flank them as they try and focus up on this fight. The team is in a really tough spot here in the valley, trying to make this rotation into where this final zone is going to be. And I believe it's the team of First in Battle who are stuck here, and we've tuned back to Visimus, who are in the valley as well. So lots of teams making their way on this rotation, coming from the north side of the map. And Visimus are moving fast, aren't they? And Visimus is down here with Scare. Scare gets the knock and is gonna pull through with the finisher. Very, very, very fearsome, that finisher from Gibraltar comes through to Kagaga. And they're just cleaning up as many points as they can, and it's a we win these just up with Frank, Freaky Kane, Crane, solo player. Actually looking to get the banner, I think. Look how fast Visimus is moving throughout the map right now.
Man, they're definitely looking like a team that wants to get back, but ooh, they get into another fight right there. Scare getting a couple of points right there. Putting no shots on to his OG. Look at how low he is.
So much is popping off. Big disadvantage for the team of Visimus, but maybe they can pull something back in this fight. For the most part, they're gonna actually exchange here. DOFI is actually the team that they're fighting. They are able to get the follow through as well. But on top of Neo, there's the player Predat. He's not ready for that one, unfortunately. And Visimus, they were looking so good in the beginning, running through the lobby, getting as many kill points as they can. But now it's all up to Ali. And he does have the rampage in hand, and Ali, don't be a crack man and try something crazy to get back on top of this platform. And yeah, he's actually gonna do it. He's actually going back up. He has the rampage. He can do a lot of damage. He's actually just gonna try to get the banners and be sneaky about it, but they can see him. He gets the armor swap though. The auto 9 beam comes in from Predat. Predat trying to push it, but the gas is coming in as the 10th man here to work for the man's Ali though. There's not much you can do as Predat jumps on him. And he's out of the situation, and that's Visimus coming out at 11th here. But they cleaned up a lot of kill points for the most part, so I'm pretty sure they're pretty good coming in for the semifinals.
Yeah, definitely. We're curious to see how they do in that, nice, leaderboard right there. But, man, for a very long time, they were looking like they were going to run away with this, getting a whole lot of kills right there. It was interesting to see. But yeah, let's see how, that leaderboard does. As we can see that zone again, just circling around, staging. And you now see the different teams trying to rotate in. There are a couple of teams in that zone. Nerdish, we haven't seen a lot of them in this particular lobby, but you see Killer just started popping up those shots right there onto several different teams. They're just hanging around right here. And it'll be interesting to see if, we do get a new team, taking this win in this last game.
Nerdish in a really awkward position, though. Jason across them. And they're just like in an open area where everybody can kind of see them. It's kind of good, but really bad at the same time. It's kind of tough, they need to find a better position to work with. As the team of JSN is causing a lot of pressure on towards them as well. So they're going to opt to play under the bridge, which I feel is a little bit easier to hold. A little less angles to really worry about. There's a little bit more pillars to work with as well. It does look like, unfortunately, Nai was unable to reconnect, so JSN now playing as a duo. So it's going to be really hard for them to close this one up and potentially get a 3-peat. So the lobby is looking open for, as you would like to say, a new champion to come through. Oh, the longbow shots here from Killers. Connecting for a lot of damage there onto the member of JSN, and he's not giving up. He gets a knock onto Dash, and he opens things up, but he's getting charged right from above. And needs to calm down himself here. And it's snipers all around causing the damage today.
Definitely the guys from Nerdish putting in the work right there, trying to get, a couple of shots right there, getting a knock right there onto one of the players from JSN. But the return fire and the third parties coming in, finish. Now JSN with just 2 players, Vita and Dash. Wondering if they can put in the same amount of pressure into the lobby as they have put in, a couple of times, and coming in with that longbow, trying to get a knock off their own. I mean, what's it with snipers today?
Yeah, I mean, look, snipers, it makes sense, especially in a lobby where you're gonna see a lot of teams fighting each other on their rotations. It's always nice to have that long distance weapon that can pick off a couple of people who will be weak, and there's so many teams congested towards staging that aren't really realizing the zone is going to go towards that high ground. And there's a couple of teams that are already there that don't need to make a large rotation, but there's so many fights breaking in and out of staging. Caras carries out here in this situation. They've got a knock onto Radical from Jared as they try and make their way in, and some creatures just down to the one player. Unfortunately for them, they need to try and collect as many points as they can. Dash takes out Kano as well, so that is going to be a really tough spot to find swamp creatures. But for now, they've got the solo, and we saw what solos can do, and solo Wraiths especially, going back to We're Scared, did an absolute madness in that second game, which soon is about to close in though.
Yeah, Caras is looking like a team that definitely does need those points. They do need to, get as much points as they can in this game to secure the bag. And you can see going in for that finish right there. Gets in, taking out that player right there. And it does look like Swamp Creatures will most likely be down to their last player. And, yeah, Caras looking, rather strong right here in this game. They've got nine teams around. Well, we've got 9 teams around, 21 players, and Caras is looking strong.
There's a Kraber in the hands of Mac. I saw it. Could be interesting what Mac is putting up on the board with that Kraber. But for now, all the teams are starting to make some rotations. The team of Caras is pulling up a good spot and playing for that end game quite well. But look at where the team of DOFI is situated. They're on the edge of the zone trying to work their way in, and they're finding a little bit of room to work with, but it's not much. It really isn't much for them to work with. As Caras is on the opposite side trying to lob a couple of nades to flush them out, but for now they're safe. For how long? Uncertain. It does look like some fights are coming through. Dash has gone down once again, and Yeah, JSN is having a tough time trying to play as a duo. It's really hard to cover all the angles that they probably need to. Still 8 squads left in this affair. Look at where that team is stuck inside. It's tough to get out of that carriage.
Several different teams that surrounded this position right now. You can see the guys from 999, DOFI, all sitting within close proximity of each other. Different shots are going to be going down. First in battle, obviously looking to get into a good position themselves, trying to get into that high ground and be able to take out some shots. You can see Chronic will be popping some shots. DOFI, Namib King sending in some shots towards several different teams. It is about to go wild. We got several different teams all choked up within this region. And I'm curious to see who actually does win.
It's a really good spot for Caras to kind of farm majority of the lobby in front of them. Teams are making their way in somehow. They're finding a piece of room to work with. It's not easy, but they're making it in. First in battle already have 1 casualty, unfortunately. And this player is just caught sleeping on the black market boutique, and sometimes shopping can lead to some disasters here. Especially on World's Edge, when you're caught sleeping. Thankfully, it doesn't go down. There's a war breaking loose here, and DOFI just trying to hold off as much as they can. Edge of zone, domes are popped from both teams, so there's not much cover to work with after that. First in battle, I found a spot to work with. Caras are obviously still up at that high ground, and I'm probably watching all of this break loose. And it's 99 who are just taking all this heat. Closed off in the corner. They don't really have any way into the zone. They have to find something. They're making the move right now. EZ's gonna queue in, leaving the 2 teammates basically to die out in the open. 7 squads are up here. It's just carnage left, right, and center. EZ though comes through, gets the clutch, pulls out the prowler. There's so much happening. Everybody's just trying to survive as long as they can. Jared goes down on the opposite end as well. Oh my goodness, it's absolute carnage here, Agfire.
Man, absolute carnage, just like you said. They're trying to make sure that they get into the zone and put it in that word. But 99 is doing all of what you try as much as you could stay alive in this game, holding it down. And he said has finally found a way to get into at least a decent position right here, popping up them shots right here, taking shots from several different players and getting one down. It's now up to Mac. Trying to find a way. Mac and Cookie Moon to try to find a way, but 99 is still holding it here.
Zone is going to be closing in pretty soon for a lot of these teams, and there's still 5 squads here. Ladies and gentlemen, there's so many layers to work with. We've got teams in the car, teams in the low ground, teams under the bridge here with Nerdish. Nerdish need to find a way up to the top of the zone to get involved with a lot of these fights. JSN is still up, even though we've seen Dash take multiple knocks. They're still in this conversation. They can still close out 3 games in tonight, and the zone is going to be closing in. Caras have a really big advantage to work with this high ground. There's lots of teams that have to make their way up. Look at how Dash and Salvatore are trying to spread their firepower to try hold off as much people as they can. They're focusing at different angles here, but look at Jared with the flatline, pulling up so many numbers, doing so much damage. They're able to control so much high ground. They're able to dictate how this game is pretty much going to end for them. 3 squads are up, 3 squads are left. Zone is closing in slowly. The shot's coming through onto Dash. Dash tries to dash away. For the most part, he's okay for now. Jared around the corner, trying to deal as much damage as he can, but it's not looking good thus far. No damage is being found. JSN is still up in this situation. We still have 1 team as well on the opposite side. Killer's looking to be the only one left. Dash has a lot of damage taken up onto him, as well as Jared. But everything is stabilizing. Everything is slow for now, as all the teams are trying to push on top of each other. It looks like Caras are making this big-ass play to come in here and make something happen. They want to close things up here. Look at Jared swoop in. Everything is still blocked, so knock players everywhere. It looks good for Caras to come and clutch this one up. Shots are flying left, right, and center. They're cleaning things up here, ladies and gentlemen. But look at where Junkie is. Look at where Junkie is. He's down at the bottom. They can't see him. They don't know he's up here. They take out Salvatore, but Junkie is still up here. Junkie's clutching it up for Nerdish with the points. Is this enough for Nerdish? Nerdish here. They can get a lot of points to try work their way into the top 10, but looks good for Caras to win this one out.
Whoa. Definitely smart gameplay coming in from Nerdish right there, as Junkie has gotten them a whole lot of points right there. Coming in 2nd place may just be enough for them to get all the way into that semifinals, but Caras getting a whole bunch of kills right there, and most likely going to get that win.
Yeah, man, textbook from them, playing high ground, dictating how the zone is going, and it's a really big clutch coming in from Caras to end off the evening.
We have
And I'm
our
sure
Apex
lots of people
champions.
in the sidelines are going to be happy to see this one come through. Pac-Man, the Caramel Gamer, and it's me, Jared, clutch up game 4. And it's not going to be JSN to come through with the third tonight.
I told you about the streamer team, right? I
Yeah.
mentioned them in the beginning, right?
Never sleep on the streamer team.
Never sleep on the streamer team, and that is exactly why you don't want to be sleeping on them. Absolutely phenomenal performance coming through from the Caras. Man, they were beaming. They were taking fights left, right, and center. They were not afraid of getting involved in those fights, and you can see why. They picked up kill points after kill points after kill points, stayed so active, and really built themselves an advantage there towards the end. Beautifully played from the streamers themselves, coming through in clutch really for our last game of the Group D qualifiers. We're going to be looking at those first we're going to look at the match standings or MVP, and then we'll look at the overall standings at the end to see who's going to be going through to the next phase. But Tendo, as the day comes to a close, what did you think about it so far?
Pretty balanced lobby, I feel. I think, yes, Jason, during the middle phase of the series really was dominating. But I think at the end of the day, we all saw that everybody had the pop-up potential to pretty much win a game. We got wins from Visimus, Caras, and from JSN, right? And I think I'd look at the lobby as a bit of an overview, and I'd say, yeah, those guys are probably kind of sitting at the top dogs. I think they performed the best of most of the teams tonight. I think I can maybe even mention Envy coming through with some good plays here and there. Swamp Creatures as well had some good plays. They were a little less consistent towards the end stage. They were looking a little bit better towards the beginning, but picking up points nonetheless. But pretty exciting day of Apex Legends. Yeah, I'd love to say it's the close off of the group stages, but we'll be here on Thursday, right?
Yeah, about that. We still have Group C games to be going, so unfortunately that will have to wait till Thursday. But talking about today, let's take a look at your last MVP for the Group D games as it stands at the moment. And a big shout out to the streamer teams themselves. It's me, Jared, coming through with your MVP for the last match of the day with 2,132 damage and 4 kills. Absolutely beaming for the Caras. And it was beautiful to watch them finally get the fruits of their labor, because they've been pretty active, for majority of the day, and they just haven't, towards the end, unfortunately, just haven't had that last little bit of oomph that they needed to really take the W. And this time around, here it is. So once again, we've had an interesting round of games. We've had Visimus take a map today. We've had JSN take 2 maps today. And of course, we've had Caras taking the last map. So, a different set of winners. I think JSN was the only, biggest consistency that we saw today. But overall, we've had a really good set of teams coming through. Tony, Group D, compared to, obviously, I believe you casted Group B. How did the two compare?
I saw teams that had pretty much the same firepower with the top teams in Group B, but there were a lot more of those teams now in this group. You could see maybe about every single team could take out any team, and it was all down to positioning, decision making at the end of the day. And that was the clear difference for teams like Caras, teams like Viximus, and JSN.
And that's the most insane thing, is we always get surprised with these teams, because a lot of them we don't get to see in some of the local tournaments that we cast. We only really get this opportunity when we get to the African Throwdown, and we see such representation from across Africa. We see these teams coming out of the woodworks, and they surprise us every single time. JSN, obviously, we spoke about it last season. There was a little bit of involvement with lag, but the rosters have changed since then. It's basically a completely different team. I think only Salvatore may or may not have been one of the members from that previous roster. So a complete change coming through, but it's been very consistent, and I like the way that they've been playing. It's fairly composed, I'd say, as I guess composed as you can get within Apex Legends, but relatively structured. So far I've really enjoyed it. Tendo, what are some of the strategies that you really enjoyed from today?
Yeah, I think the Caustic was a really big pickup today. I think a lot of teams were pretty aggressive and pretty aggro, and the Caustic teams kind of, rose above the rest in a sense, just with holding out some teams. But they are the match for results, ladies and gentlemen. Carries coming in with 11 kills as well. So they were farming up the lobby as much as they really could, pretty good for them with 23 points finishing off. JSN then comes in. Remember, they were playing as a dynamic duo as well, right? So imagine if Nye didn't disconnect, maybe we'd be having a different conversation, right? That final fight between JSN and Carries. But hey, look, can't take anything away from them. JSN come in with 16 points, Nerdish 12 points, Visimus 11 points. Wait, guys, Visimus came out so early.
What?
They had 1 point, but look how many kills. They were rotating so quickly. And, I was mentioning how fast they were playing. They were all over the map, pretty much. They weren't stopping. They knew, let's just go in for the kills and try fish it out. Coming after that, DOFI, Swamp Creatures, First in Battle, 999, Envy, and Team N.
Yeah, okay. Like, look, you mentioned it, right? We saw Visimus going out, but we were like, but they were doing pretty good with kill points. I didn't think they were picking up 10 double-digit kill points for them, landing them in 4th place. That is a massive clutch coming through towards the end of the day. Surely we should be seeing them go through to the next phase. But speaking of the next phase, we do have the overall standings of today ready to look at to see who's going to be moving forward to your semi-finals. Of course, we know it's your top 10, and here they are. Of course, we can see JSN coming through in 1st place with 80 points and total kills of 47. Caras carries massive clutch there towards the end, landing them in 2nd place with 56 total points. Visimus in 3rd place with 45. eNVy Gaming, you were waiting for them, Tendo, and here they are in 4th place with 40 points. Swamp Creatures with Canovia himself coming through in 4th place with 40 points. With 5th place. Wow, English is hard today. Nerdish, they in 6th place. They were 29. DOFI in 7th place. 99MDG coming through in 8th place. First in battle with the crazy chronic Kraber shots. I don't think that's going to be sticking with me because that's a tongue twister and a half. In 9th place. And Loowe coming through in 10th place. And those are currently, well, actually, no, those are confirmed. Your top 10 going through to the semi-finals. And we will have to say adieu and thank you so much for playing, but unfortunately, goodbye. So we win these: Imperial, Kraken, SaffasUnited B, Element Gaming, the Olympians ZA, Team N, AverageBunch, Gagne Faim, and Mysterious Outlaws. Thank you for playing, but unfortunately not moving forward to the next phase. Tendo, what you thinking? What you thinking?
I'm honestly really proud of Carries coming in as the streamer team. You can all go check their POVs. I'm pretty sure Pac-Man and Caramel are streaming right now, and I'm sure they're buzzing right now, coming 2nd place in the composition. And it wasn't an easy lobby, right? I mean, JSN, good competition. Visimus, really good competition as well. Swamp Creatures, good competition. eNVy, good competition. Really stacked lobby, low-key, for these streamers to go up against and to come out in 2nd place. Definitely is my highlight for the night. I think they've done a lot of people proud in the lobby.
I think they absolutely have. Fire, what has been your highlight of this evening? The Group D games coming to a close.
Yeah, definitely is how JSN decided to play it. Just holding a good position at the end of the day. They knew they had the firepower, but they kept going on and on and on and holding a good spot. And you even saw in the last game, they could have taken it, but, Caras was just absolutely on fire at the end. So for me, I'm curious to see, how they begin to do against, all the way in the semifinals against other teams and to see if they keep up that same pace.
Well, with that, unfortunately, we are not finished. Well, fortunately, we're not finished with the group stages, depending on how you look at it. We still have a stream coming through to your screens on Thursday, same time as today, to finish off the Group C games that were postponed, unfortunately, due to an update that dropped at the worst possible time. So please join us on Thursday as we go through those games. They're going to be absolutely cracked, and then we will know all the seedings and all of the teams moving forward to the next phase. And, of course, the teams joining your teams from today that were absolutely phenomenal and gave us such a buzz of excitement to watch and witness their plays. But with that being the case, the Apex Legends African Throwdown Cup 2 Day number 4, technically, but Group D, yeah, numbers are not going to work with me. Has come to a close, basically. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Tendo and Fire for joining us and giving us the excitement that we needed today. I hope you all enjoy your Tuesday, middle of the week tomorrow, so stay safe, stay warm, and enjoy all the joys that we're going to be seeing you on Thursday. Thank you for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.